Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Halim wa salim bikum. How you doing today, my brothers and sisters, wherever you may be? And I'm kind of changing up a little bit on a topic. It's a sensitive topic and one that has been debated for many, many decades, if not centuries. And the African American or Afro American, Africans born in America, are still sitting at a crossroad. This crossroad now is even getting more complex. You're in the middle of the road here. To the right side is America and the Tuba institutions, culture, way of life. Then here is the ever-present African continent, which is starting to rise again, where you see geopolitics, everything is being centralized about Africa. We're not talking about what is happening in Gaza or in Jazeera Arab and the latest development in Syria. Yes, that takes a big part, and Gaza should be in the minds of everybody, irrespective of who you are, because what is happening there is a Holocaust as well. But Africa is always in the mix. And the African American, the Afro American, is playing a pivotal role in this. And now, with the ever-present media, the so-called African American culture is now everywhere. You can go to Russia and you can find hip hop. You can go to Korea. There's Koreans, which I'm not laughing at them. Don't get me wrong. I see them rapping like the brothers. I have to smile. I mean, because it's different. You know what I mean? They're some have even gotten the accent of the brothers, and they are rapping. Even some are doing gangster rap. So this African American culture is going everywhere. You see it especially in mainstay in sports, when you see African American youth, coaches, or whoever it is, and their counterparts who are other nationalities. They too have adopted to certain African American customs, handshake, certain words, demeanor, and so forth and so on. So the African American has played a pivotal role in showing his culture and giving his ways and means to the world, where even in Japan, you have Japanese rappers. Now, that sounds funny, but it's true. You go to China. China has Chinese rappers who take and even wear do-rags. Even one I saw the other day on YouTube, he had, where I was from, Compton, California, he had a hat on that says Compton on it. And I did not mean to laugh, but I had to laugh because it looks strange and different. But this culture that has been permeated inside the United States by African Americans is everywhere now. See, this is a very important thing. And it's not, I'll tell you something else too, and I'll get started on this. Russia is a very interesting place. Do you know that the Russian government has a stance about African Americans? They understand their plight more so than all the other European countries. The African American is invited and welcome to come to Russia. Matter of fact, some notables have given instant citizenship in Russia, and Putin himself met the African Americans when they came in and gave them their citizenship certificates and passport. And Putin was on TV telling the black man and the black woman in America, look, you come here, we don't have racial profiling. There's no roving cops to gun you down. You're not going to be stopped because you're African American. See, so we have these dynamics. The African American culture has made a mainstay here on the continent as well. I live in Morocco. We have Moroccan brothers who are black. They're light-skinned. And, you know, with the haircut, I don't know what they call fade or whatever. They even adopted that hairstyle. And they're rapping. There are young, beautiful Moroccan sisters who are rapping. And matter of fact, some have collaborated with some of the Afro American men to make videos. All of this is now out in the open. But yet and still, brothers and sisters, the lingering question behind all of this is, who is the Afro American? Is he a two-bob or is he an African? Where does his loyalties actually lie? Let's think about that. Let's get to some of our brothers here. I want to acknowledge some of our brothers here who came in. Wa alaikum salam, my dear brother. Thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate that. And African royalty, as always, thank you, brother. Thank you very much for showing up. And AJ Graves, thank you, dear brother, for showing up today. I appreciate it. Salam alaikum. And we have watching from, hey, thank you, dear brother, from Texas. All right. Lone Star State. Thank you very much for telling me that, dear brother. You know, those who don't know, I've always said, hey, you know, I was born in America, no doubt. But as you heard me say, those who follow me, I always said something about Africa in my heart. I just had that. I can't explain that. And it was just something inside me. I just couldn't help myself. I loved Africa and so forth and so on. 10 years old, I went to the Nation of Islam. I left my mom's store. Mom and dad had they had a couple of businesses. And about a mile away was a Nation of Islam store. And I ran over there because I was a young punk, you know, at that time. So I could run and walk, run 1 mile is nothing. And go over there. I had my allowance. I went and bought a Quran and a prayer rug at 10 years old. So I just say that because, you know, our ties to our communities is deep. Our dear brother here from Houston, I'm from Compton, California. See, so that is, you know, something that is part of our heritage there inside the United States. And our dear brother said, would love to go to Morocco one of these. Yes, let me tell you something. Morocco is a very, very, very beautiful country. I mean, it is absolutely stunningly beautiful. And it has microclimates. You have everything you want. You want mountain ranges. You have that. You have the great Sahara Desert, what we call Sahara in the Arabic language. We have that. We have a big divide. We have from the central part, from where I'm living in Fez up north, we have more lighter skinned Melungeons type who are descendant from Andalus. And those who follow me when I talk about Andalus and what happened and so forth and so on. And then when you go further south, you start seeing people like ourselves. They look a lot like African Americans and other Black Africans. And the culture is totally different. And on this country, I will say this to you, and I've said this many times. The brothers here have no problem finding wives. And if you, the girls, the young woman here, ranging from the ages of 20, you know, even 16, 17, 18, all the way, you talking about beautiful girls, they're here. Every color spectrum you want, tall and light skin, tall and dark skin, some ebony colors, some are in between that. I mean, you have all of that. And the brothers here have no problem whatsoever of finding wives, which we have many African Americans have done. They've come here, especially to the South, and got wives here. So we don't have those kind of problems here. Thank you, my dear brother. This is my cousin here. Thank you very much for showing up today, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I was going to ask you, my dear cousin, have you eaten at the Wolf River apple came from Wisconsin. It's a big apple. They have the slogan. They say the apple is one apple equals one pie, which is true. You can make one pie out of one big apple. But I was curious if you've eaten that Wolf River apple. And our dear brother here is from Florida. That's a very hot state. But I never went to Florida before, and in some ways, I never had really desire to go there. I don't know why. I was always afraid of hurricanes or something. I don't know. I always figured I'll step over there and it won't happen just as I got there. I don't know, but that's just how things go. Okay, how you doing, my dear brother? Islam is not our law. They are also oppressors. Well, yes, that's why we're going to talk about this, and we'll get into this, and we talk, and all I can suggest to us here is that we have our point of view. We be civil to one another, because we're not going to all agree, and we should agree to disagree. I'm an elder. I expect that kind of respect. Even if you disagree with me, give me your facts, tell me what. But if you come with some type of madness, I'm going to run you out, because I don't have time for that. So if you want to express yourself, you guys can, no problem. I have no problem with that. That's why I said we discuss it, because it is a sensitive topic. But I'm not going to have any type of madness and just uncouth comments. If you're going to bring back your play. You say that you don't like Islam, you tell us why you don't like it, but you give us something. Don't say because you heard something what a Tubab told you. I don't want to hear that. You give me your proof. You say you don't like Islam. You say Islam is not for African Americans. I understand that. I agree. Okay, fine. We agree to disagree. That's what I mean. But don't come up with some type of wild, uncouth madness. You disrespect all of us here. We're all Africans here. So, we may differ, but that's okay. Okay, yeah, check it out, my dear brother. When I was in, when I moved years later from Los Angeles to Tehachapi, up in the mountain range, I had an opportunity one time. I saw it in the restaurant. That's how I learned about it. I was going to a restaurant. The door was open in the back. I saw this huge. I never saw apple like that. And then the guy told me, the cook told me, he said, yeah, we get this from Wisconsin. They're called Wolf River apple. I'll never forget that apple. Massive, big apple. And we got here, North Africa is quite racist towards, if you're a black man, they will probably treat you differently. I will say this. In Tunisia, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't recommend any African American to go to Tunisia. There's a lot of horror stories. The Tunisians have even complexes against other Amazigh and other Arabs. So they have their ways and means, and they differ, and they don't get along generally with a lot of different people regardless. But for the African American to go there, I wouldn't recommend that. Algeria, you can. Now, you will encounter some prejudices, perhaps, but here our brother says something right. When they make the distinction between a Black African and African American, I saw this. And I think it has to do with the economic power and so forth. And they regard you as not African. They see you in color-wise, but they say, well, you're from America. So they call you American regardless. They don't call you African American. They call you American. And so they make the differential between you and our African brothers on the continent. So they most likely, they won't discriminate against you. But here in Morocco, we have people range from all colors, and there's no, overt racism. Yeah, there are some things here and there. But again, we have, when Black Africans coming from the South up to the North, there is some hostility towards them. And that's a long story. I won't get into that. But you got to remember something about Morocco, brothers and sisters. The Amazigh people, which are also a heritage, Amazigh people were originally Black. The 5 great sultanates were Black sultanates. See, and they came originally from the South. So that's something that you should hold on to. So thank you, one and all, and those who will show up in the future. You guys have any questions, I'm gonna get to you, because we're going to discuss this. Okay, so we do this, and we ponder what we say and bring it on and back up your play, and there's no problem. So let's get started. Brothers, sisters, this here is a guide that tells you about how the Africans were taken from the continent. And here is something very interesting. You should see a timeline. The first 4 ethnic groups were generally taken a lot at the first stages of slavery in the Americas, in particular, and in the West Indies. The first 4, they were generally African traditional religion, Ifa, Juju, Obia, Voodoo, and so forth and so on. But number 6, number 7, and then you see number 7, which is interesting, the Fulani people. I've told this before, and I have Fulani people tell me, because I'm full of, they tell me, no, it wasn't many of us taken. That's not true. The last 3, 6, 7, and 8, in the 1800s, when West Africa was in the zenith of Islamic empires, they were having wars left and right, and some treacherous Muslims began to make money off other Fulani who they had. Maybe they had one Fulani village that did not want to come to Islam. They were mixing, and so they got them, and then they would sell them to the traders. But then you see the Mende. The Mende were taken in droves, and the Mandinka as well. And they were mostly Muslims. This is my contention. That's why you look at our heritages there in the United States, and I would recommend this to every African American. You go get your heritage. I mean, your DNA done. You will find very interesting compositions, especially if you take it to jet match. That's where I took mine. You'll find some very interesting compositions of your heritage. And you will find, especially on your mother's, on your father's side and his mother, you'll find especially Igbo, Yoruba, and some other ethnic groups, and so forth and so on. And if you are generally lighter skinned, you will find, like on my mom's side was the Fula and Amazigh from Morocco. Here's what accounts for the Wolof people who came. I contend, you see, like everybody knows the United States who Shaq O'Neal is, and some of the other African Americans who are very tall and big. I put any money that when you do their heritage, I bet you're going to find Wolof. I mean, I think that some of our bigger African American brothers, I believe them to be of Wolof from them. This is what I think. But the last 3 were taken in droves more so than the others in the 1800s, all the way up to near until the near 1850s. They had approximately about 50 years to take millions and millions of Muslims from the continent, from West Africa, and then send them to the Americas. That's where it counts for the high rise in number of the of Islam in America. And this is my contention. As African Americans start to find their heritage, they found out their Hausa, they find out their Fulani, they found out they're Wolof, they're finding that they're Mandinka, they find that they are Mende, and they're finding all kind of ethnic groups who are traditionally Muslims. And this is a contention. Okay, here we got brother. How you doing, my dear brother? Well, salam alaikum, my dear brother. Moroccans love blacks. Yes, this is why this contention too. We talk about the African continent and so forth. Let me make a comment to you about something, brothers, sisters. I've been to some West African countries, and what's funny. The African American has a love-hate relationship with West Africa per se. We are accepted, generally speaking, but a lot of us are not accepted. and whatnot. You don't have this clear problem in Morocco. Why? Because the Moroccan people are not generally in the physical characteristics of our West African brothers. See, and so there's a differences in the way they see things. So that's just one take I have on that. Learning about your heritage is interesting. It will chart. Yes, it will. Went from wanting to be Japanese to it. Yes, embrace your, yes, because I've always said this. You look at everybody inside the United States. The Mexican, he can talk about his heritage. He can beat his chest, talk about the Japanese man or the Chinese American. They can talk. The Italians, especially Italians, they'll tell you, but I'm Sicilian, I'm this, that, and so forth. The Irish will talk about their heritage. The Swedes, the Norwegians, the Germans, everybody talks. When you get to African American, the African American is quiet because he doesn't even know. Only thing he can say is Africa. But again, like I've always said, when somebody who's astute into things, they're gonna say, okay, Africa's a big continent. But what do you mean Africa? Where are you from in Africa? Who are your ancestors in Africa? You can't answer that. That to me is a darn shame. You can't answer that. How you doing, my dear brother? Want to find yes, African ancestry. I already know my German, Japanese history. Yes, well, on my side, because we have the slave master. I'm even related to Henry VII, the king, on my dad's side because of the slave master. And we all know what that meant. I don't have to get into that. We know what the slave master done. So I have that R series in my blood, and whatnot. Okay, the wolves are part of the. Brother, you're starting to get. You're starting to get kind of crazy. So I got to get you out of here because that's ridiculous. So we are contending now that the African American should have understanding of his heritage, and I contend if he finds out he's a black man, I mean not black, excuse me, that he's Muslim, he should go to that. Because the Christianity is so confusing to us, and it's still confusing. If you get 10 African Americans, you put them in a room. Yes, there's a cultural thing to everybody says certain Christian ideals, but they don't know exactly what they're talking about because a lot of the things they're saying today has been disputed and it's been told is wrong. Like, and when you see African Americans, they have Jesus, alayhi salatu salam, as a Swedish man on their walls. That has been now rectified, that we know him to be black. But you can't tell African American Christians, quote unquote Christians, that this is true. They still want to cling to this picture of a white Jesus Christ, alayhi salatu salam. See, so that's why this is interesting. Nice. My grandmother is German. Well, see, yeah, there's nobody pure anymore anywhere. You go in West Africa, there's no such thing as a pure Fulani, because the Fulani is going to have Igbo, he's going to have Yoruba, and if he's over in the corridor, he's going to have especially Amazigh in his heritage, especially the Western corridor in the Sahel. The Fulani people, you're going to have them having Tuareg and Amazigh heritage as well. So none of us are pure of something. If you're African American on your father's side in particular, your mother's side too as well, you're going to have some European ancestry because of the slaves, of the slavery, and they took our women to bed, and you know the story about that. Okay, yes, yes, in Spain, all of us. I have English and French. We all have that, and whatnot. I think person meant wolves and not wolves. Oh yeah, well, yeah, what but yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, what ancestry test is good? Jet match is very good. The brother sent me an email the other day. He's telling me about some other. He said it was pretty good, but I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it, my dear brother. Um, I'm not sure what the name of that that uh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry here. I got some technical difficulties. Okay. I'm back on. Um, I can't think the name, not Tribe. I forgot the name of it. He said it was pretty good, but Jet Match I really like because it really gave me a good rounded and I took the African ancestry. That got me started. And 23andMe, that got me started. But it's Jet Match that took me over the hump because it got me all of these things. Okay. And I have taken yes. And okay, yes. Jazak, okay, well, Jazakum, my dear brother, thank you very much. Now we get back to the issue here uh, at hand, where we're talking about uh, the ethnic groups and so forth and so on. I don't know if you brothers agree with me in this regard. If a brother, considering the heat of America as it's toward the black man, and then it even adds more to the fire when you come back to your heritage. But either way you look at it, it's not going to make a difference. But should we learn, once we learned that they're Fulani, they learned that they're Wolof, they learned that they're Mandinka or Mende, should they adopt their great ancestors' religion? And this is a contention. Some of us says yes, others says no. And this is what I basically was talking about, that I wanted to get out there to see what everybody feels about this, because you have people say, no, Christianity is better, this and that, and so forth and so on. But I got to ask you the question, those who say this, is why you have the problem of, well, who is the Godhead? You say Jesus on one thing, and then you say God on another, and then it's this confusing. And then you say you follow the tenets of Christianity, but then the Christian tenets, you're supposed to follow the Old Testament, but you don't follow that anymore. See, so there's a lot of contention. See, with that. So this is something, and the Christianity was thrown on us because we did not leave the continent as Christians. We all know that. We didn't leave as that. We left either as Muslims or traditional African religions. There was nothing else. We were not Christians. See? So that's the contention, brothers and sisters. The transatlantic slave trade was just as brutal as the Jewish Holocaust. Now, I had some debates some years back with a good friend of mine who was a Jew, and he and I discussed that. And he didn't know much. He knew about the African slave trade, yes. He did not understand all of the significance of it. I said differences here. You were living in Europe, and you were rounded up like cattle and slaughtered. We were taken from our homeland. We were stripped of everything. Then we had the indignity of riding 4 months on a slave ship where there's no bathrooms. And we died. 12 million of us died, and probably even more than that died. And West Africa today is still depopulated. When they put us in the Americas, we didn't know who we were. We knew we were black, but we didn't know who our great grandfathers were. They didn't know their names. They lost all their language capabilities. They lost even their religion. And then they were told to believe in Eurocentric Christianity. See, so this is a greater death in a lot of ways than when you've been herded up and then you were killed like our Jewish brothers, and it was a Holocaust. Here we had a slow death where you were culturally killed. Your way of life was killed. Your homeland, your connection to your homeland was gone. You don't know where to go in Africa because you don't know exactly where you came from. All that was stripped from you. See, so this is one of the contentions that I had. Let's see here. We got some other more comments here. Yes, our brother says here, and our dear brother Mustafa, salam, walaikum salam, rahmatullah barakatuh, ya Aki Kareem, jazakallah khairan, Aki Kareem. Thank you very much. He's my Moroccan brother. He helps my family a lot, and now for almost over about 10, 11 years and so forth. He's like my brother. And he now see, we go again, like I told you about the heritage. See, our brother here, he has the descendants that came in from Europe, and we have many Europeans who came in the 1800s. And this is what happened to the Amazigh. They begin to mix a lot with the Germans. I mean, with the Europeans who converted to Islam, and they came to Morocco because they wanted to live under Moroccan Sultanate, and so they intermarried with the Amazigh people. And so that's why the Amazigh people are all kind of ranges of colors today. You have Amazigh look like me. You have Amazigh to look like our dear brother here, Mustafa, as well. Thank you, my dear brother, for showing up. I suspect Islam is basically just kinetic religion when facing disaster, becoming hardcore to laws. And then every nation gets hardcore when they, well, you know, I talked about, and I'll get back to the talk about the Egypt, because if you follow some of my courses, I talked about Egypt, which we call in the Meter language of Egypt. Egypt was called Kemt, and there's Ta Mary. There's a few names that the Africans, our brothers there in ancient Egypt, call that land. The black land means Kemt. And then so Ta Mary is another name for it as well. Islam did not borrow from that. But there are some linguistic things I covered in another course. I won't do it now because it's complex, talking about how the Arabic that you see in the Quranic Arabic and what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet salam, in some instances, and why Subhanahu wa ta'ala named certain things, the names he named it, which coincides with some of the things told to our prophets who were in Messer as well. I talked about that. But this is, a big debate. And we're not really talking about Islam as a course today, because that's another matter altogether. But I understand, I suspect, especially just kinetic, it's not, because it was a revelation from the angel Gabriel, as you understand him in English. And he talked to the Prophet through Subhanahu wa ta'ala was guiding him, and he told the Prophet to do this. He did not go to Egypt to the mystery schools and study there and then come back and start a new religion. It didn't happen like that. The Prophet went into the mountain range, got the revelation similar to that, like Moses salam did. See, so it's not the same. It depends on the individual's spiritual, because yes, ancestors, they practice, yes, see, the traditional African religions. When the Yoruba, the Igbo were taken, generally, they were not Christians. We know that. But they were Ifa and some other traditional African religions. We know that for the fact, okay? So we understand that. That was taken from them as well, because they were thrown into being Christians. See? So it all depends on your aspect, and this is the right statement. But the problem that we look at is inside the United States. You profess Christianity, but then we know now Christianity is so, flawed by this. What I mean by that is there's 140 different versions of the Bible. So which Bible is actually the right one? See, in Islam, there's only one book, and that book is read by a man in Turkey. It's the same. It's not changed. A man in France, a man sitting in Japan, or a man sitting in Chile, in South America, he is going to read the same verbiage. Not so with the Christian Bible. There's 140 different versions of it. See? So and we have laws in Islam. The law here, now, of course, we're talking about, we know today in Muslim states, they're not following these laws. We understand that. but that doesn't resolve you or me, who Muslims, were not following it. But we have problems in the American landscape because the Americans tell our African American brothers, you adopt the religion that we tell you to adopt. You name your children after us. At one time, African Americans named their children exclusively after in the Old Testament. Susan, Susanna, what's the girl? Deborah. Names. There's other names too. I forgot to slip out. But Moses, Benjamin, there all these names like this we were taking at. Suddenly, they clamped down on that, and Europe, the two Bob Americans began to tell African Americans, no, you name them after New Testament. The New Testament has nothing to do with the Middle East. It has nothing to do with the prophets of old or the Old Testament. The names that were taken by us at that time came from Western Europe. They're not quote unquote Christian names. This is the confusion that the African American has to contend with. And now we know that the Hebrew names that we had were correct. Sheila, and if you say in Hebrew, it's Sheila, but in English, Sheila. That is Hebrew. The Hebrews were Black people. So you were right on when we were naming our children after in the Old Testament. Susanna, Susan, Sheila, Sheila. I forgot Deborah, and all these names like this. This was true. Then we stopped that, and we went to the names of Western Europe. This is the contention that I was talking about, brothers and sisters. Usman Den Fodio. Yes, we know of him, and that's another story in itself. Allah is the God of Abraham and God of Moses, and God. Yes, this is a true statement, my dear brother. That the ancient Egyptians, the Kemetic people, they had many names for Allah. Ra was one. Atan was another. There's others. I talked about this in my class. The Hebrews have their contention of names as well. See, and so this is why this is an important aspect. The African American differs from this. This is what I'm trying to say. So what are they actually following? See, because they say that they're following Jesus, salam, but then they're following laws that he said don't follow. Jesus, salam, said, quote unquote, in the New Testament, he says, I'm here to what? Enforce the Torah, not to tear it down. But the two Bob Americans tore it down. They tore down the Torah and told you to eat pork. They told you you can fornicate. They told you you can have you can make babies in wedlock. You can marry, and you can do all kind of things and so forth and so on. They told you that Jesus ﷺ said he was Allah, he was Jehovah. He wasn't, because here's the contention again. I asked African Americans, when one of the disciples and the people, they asked Jesus ﷺ, they said, teach us how to pray. When they asked him that, he gave a message of Tawheed, we call the oneness of God, by saying what? The Lord's Prayer is not saying Jesus is God. This is what I'm saying. And African Americans are still confused today about the contention of what they believe. And it's confusing. See? So this is the contention that we have. Our dear brother said, the book of Abraham himself claims that the name of God is that's not, because if you look at the Samaritans had the original books, and then they were all killed off for a reason, because when the Europeans, the two Bob Americans, begin to take hold of the Christianity, they want to make sure that they change the Christianity around to make it into a European religion. The Samaritans had the books. There's no contention. We have many scholars, even rightful Christian scholars, will tell you today that there's no contention that Jesus said he was that. Yes, Son of God mean you or any other person who follows Jesus, who follows Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, Jehovah is a son of that. And there's even in the Neher, we have a contention in that as well, where people say they follow something, you're given a name. In Islam, we have the same thing. If we have devotion, we call Abdullah, means what? A slave to. Abdullah meaning that. See, so we have that. So this is a big contention. They're following Paul. Yes, yes, they're following that. Learn the Sunnah of the Prophet Islam. Yes, but many African Americans don't know that because they're still trapped up into believing something about their religion, Christianity religion, that is the right religion, when in fact it is not, because it's wrought with too many inconsistencies. And now we've destroyed the Bible in a sense, because we have shown that many of the texts that were taken and put in the book of the Bible came out of ancient Egypt. And I talked about that when we gave proof. Now that's all over. Gary Greenberg, he has a book called I just did a class on this here about 5 months ago. He did a book talking about the Moses mystery. You guys pull that up. The Moses mystery. He's a Jewish scientist. He destroyed the Jewish myth and also with the Bible, because he took intentions, he had access to documents, and showed that there's too many similarities between the quote unquote book of the dead and the Bible. See, this is a lot of stuff. Abraham is not Islamic. No, my dear brother, that's not true at all. All the prophets of God believed in Tawheed, all, and we have all the prophets. All are all loved and respected. Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that we do not make a distinction between them. That's his job, not ours. So Abraham, Noah, all of them down the line, Isaac, all of these down the line, we have to love and respect them. We don't make a contention who is better, who is this, who's that. None. We're forbidden from that. You don't know what Jesus said because you believe that Jesus is the next. Wait a minute. I don't know if you're talking about somebody, or maybe you're talking about somebody we don't. The Muslims know Jesus better, more or less, than you guys do. I'm gonna tell you why. In the Quran, we have a chapter dedicated to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and in there gives a pointed story. We also make a contention of faith that the Muslims must believe in Jesus. If you don't, you cannot be Muslim. You can't be praying 5 times a day. You can't be saying the verbiage of a Muslim. You can't say you are Muslim and then you say, I don't believe in Jesus. You're out. It's a contention. The Christians, no, not so. Because there's still people that don't believe and they still call themselves Christians. Us as Muslims, we have to believe in Jesus. If we don't, we're gone. We're out. We finish. I don't care how many times you pray. I don't care what you say. You're gone. You're finished. The letter of yes, okay, and okay. I'm getting off track here. I'll get back to this. Abraham is the Hebrew name, but see, Abraham also. Let me tell you something. If you follow my courses talking about ancient Egypt, I gave you this. Abraham comes out from a Khan word because it was there. The Hebrew, there was no Hebrew language at this time. That came later. See, before there was Hebrews and so forth, before there was a Hebrew language, and Hebrew, Arabic are sister languages. So Abraham, I talked about this class, gave the linguistics came from a Khan word. A Khan, you find it in Ghana today. You should follow that one thing. I gave all the proof to that. Tell them what Tawheed means, the oneness of Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means all the prophets of old believed in one God. That's it. They didn't believe that there was any other man comparable to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. None. So Tawheed means the oneness of you believe that Subhanahu wa ta'ala is the supreme being, period. There's no one like him. You don't assign any partners to him. He's not a man. He's not a woman. He didn't create this, that, and so forth and so on. And he was manifested in an animal. We don't believe in any of that. Okay, in the Quran, I admit that the Israelis are God's people. Yes, yes, it's there. You look at, and Subhanahu wa Taala talks about that, and he also chastises the Israel because of what they had done. They went away from their book, because when they went away from the book of Moses, alayhi salam, okay, they went away from Torah and they created the Talmud. Subhanahu wa Taala became angry because now they went and created the Talmud. That's another story. I talked about that about a year ago. It's a very difficult topic to talk about, to read the books to the Quran and respect and honor the messengers and books and real to, yes, and native, yes. That's a nice comment, my dear brother. And I get to a couple more and I'll go back to this. Abraham was neither a Jew nor a Christian. Now you have it right. You have it right. My dear sister, this is correct. And this is, again, why we have Americans today that believe that all the prophets that came forth were Jews and Hebrews. That's not true. That didn't come until thousands of years later. See? So, and he was a true Muslim. Yes, and again, Muslim means one who submits to the will. Muslim doesn't mean, see, again, many African Americans and many Americans in general, non-Muslims have problems in this regard, because when they hear Muslim, they have all kind of connotations, but it actually means a submission. It means a submission to the will of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It's only because of the language. The language gives us that the Muslim means you submit to the will of Allah. See, so this is worshiping none, but yes, and we have all these are articles of faith, and there's 67 articles talking about that our Prophet gave us to strengthen us about that. You don't have this in Christianity. See, this is what we contend. And said transgressing against God and worshiping. Yes, we all know that. Now, one more in here. I'll get the cursed book speaks of, yes. Well, and also it makes a comment about black people too as monkeys. So there's that, because the Talmud is man-made. But this is all a different topic all in itself. And it's a very complex and very sensitive topic, to say the least. The African American saga is a tragedy one. He is neither African or American. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that. He is still generally misunderstood by the Tubab Americans and by Africans on the continent. The Tubab, let me give you a definition for those who the first time don't understand this. Is this part of Mende, Mendinka, the Fulani languages. Tubab actually means a person of European descent, European American, Canadian American. I mean, Canadians, and people of European ancestry. We call Tubab. It's not a derogatory term meaning something bad. There are other terms that are used and so this derogatory, but Tubab actually designates a person of European heritage from the Mende language, from the Fulani dialect, especially on the corridor, and from the Mendinka, we use this term Tubab. So the African Americans are generally misunderstood by Tubab Americans. They still misunderstand them. They still don't understand them, and they don't want to understand about them. Yes, when it gets to athletics, they're in on it. But after they leave the arena, they don't understand African Americans. On the African continent, they don't quite understand that as well. Because now the African, he looks at him, he sees his color, he sees the way he is, he sees things about him, but he doesn't understand why he doesn't speak Wolof, why he's not speaking Jolof, or he's not speaking Mende, or he's not speaking Capelli or something. He's not speaking these languages. So on the African continent, they misunderstand African American as well. See, so this is a contention, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not on that. And his citizenship in America is de facto. We're the only ones in the United States. When a person comes from Mexico, a person comes from Bolivia, he's there 5 years, he gets American citizenship. There's no contention. See, but the African American, he had his voting rights and his citizenship in 1965, which still has to be ratified. When the Mexican man or the man coming from Japan, China, or from Vietnam or any other country comes in the United States, he's there 5 years. Once he has his citizenship, there's no ratification, no nothing, not us. African Americans, our citizenship still has to be ratified by the Congress and by the Senate. That's why this is unfair. That's why our citizenship is de facto. You guys do your research on that. It's very interesting. He is blamed by both African Americans, continental Africans, for his plight. The two Bob American blame us for the way we are. The Africans on the continent blame us for us not being why we're not African enough. So they blame us. So we're getting hit on both sides, even though both had created this predicament. If our African ancestors didn't sell us on the continent, we wouldn't be in the predicament. The two Bob American bought us and enslaved us there, okay, and created a situation, another subculture, because the African Americans were not them. So they created a different culture and a way of life because they're still African. So they don't understand our culture too much. And what happened, I mean, they don't understand the black man, and they generally hate them, and they don't want to understand as a general rule. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, they were forced to by both to create a subculture that is neither fully American or Tubab nor even African, even though the culture features the ways and means from both. This is something, brothers and sisters, that is very, very difficult to understand. The African American has developed a culture, and he's developed a ways and means that encompasses both, but yet and still he's still not either one of them. I just talked at the first of my the talk. Remember, I said about how the quote unquote subculture, African American subculture, has reached the world because of media. You heard me say you got people in South America who are rapping. You got people even in Japan and China who are rapping. You got people even in Thailand who are rapping and imitating African Americans. We have Russians, young Russians, imitating African Americans as well. The Koreans, I saw the other day again, I saw a Korean there in South Korea mimicking African Americans in talk and mannerism, and even wore, one Korean brother had a Compton hat on. Compton, California, where I'm from, Compton, and he was rapping. See, so we have that. It's a dynamic that is very, very complex. But African Americans are confused when you talk to them. They can't tell you what is your culture. They say American, but what is American culture? American culture stands for Tubab culture. It's not African culture. This is the contention. After discovering the ancestors were actually Muslim from a variety of ethnic groups, should he revert? Brothers and sisters, we go back to that issue. Should they revert? Should they revert? Should they become Muslims? This is my contention. They should. I say yes. If you profess to be Christian and they still disregard you, you name your children after the Tubab as a Christian tradition, they still hate you, discriminate against you, and they still do things to you. They still hate you and discriminate towards you, even if you become Muslim. It's not going to make a difference. But you'll be inside your nature. Your nature as an African American is not to be quote unquote Christian. Why? because the Christianity that you profess to take is European Christianity. All of the players are white. The scholars, European scholars, Tubab scholars, rewrote the Bible. That's why it's 140 versions of it, to whiten it and make you submit to it and make you confused. Because when you look at the New Testament, the Tubab scientists and historians told you, no, you can eat anything you want, pork, drink, do so forth and so on. But Jesus said, he said, I'm here to enforce the Torah, not to tear it down. And the Torah does not what? Take wine. It doesn't take what? Pork. And the woman is covered. Brothers and sisters of the United States, you better look at that. Under Jewish law, the woman is supposed to be covered. Do you know, in my generation, my mother, I remember when our mothers would step out, they used to always wear a scarf around their head. You look at the old pictures in the 50s, the 40s, 50s, 60s in particular, and then start to change. You see mothers, especially black mothers and white mothers too, they come out of the house, they always put a scarf to cover their hair. You guys look at that. And African Americans who are my generation, they will tell you that when our mother stepped out of the house, they used to wear a scarf. Because that is part of the religion, quote unquote, Christianity, and Judaism is covering. But it's changed. It's changed around. Just like today in Islam, we're supposed not to wear certain clothing, but girls do it and boys do it anyway, irrespective of the Islamic law, irrespective of that. One more, I get to you guys in a minute here. This one more thing, another point. Americans of Tubab heritage tell you to honor and glorify their names. Their names didn't come from the Old Testament. Brothers and sisters, this is the other the contention. You African Americans, you're sitting there, you name your children after Western Europeans. Western European names are not biblical. They're not Hebrew. They're not Aramaic. They're not Ge'ez. They're not any of the holy names that we know of. That's the names that was given in those languages: Welsh, Irish, English, French, German, so forth and so on. Yes, that's their language and their names, but those names have nothing to do with the Old Testament. In the years and generations, my generation and before, we were naming our children in the Old Testament. Sheila, Deborah. There's I forgot. There's other names for girls. Deborah. There was Sheila, which is Shayla. I forgot. Susan, Susanna. There was a lot of different names that we did name our girls and our boys. We had Moses, Benjamin. We had David. We had Solomon. Okay, we took all those names, and then suddenly we stopped. And we took Western European names and then tried to say these Western European names are the same, equivalent to the Testament of the Old Testament. It's not the same, brothers and sisters. Okay, let me see where we left off here. They were committed to Christian. Okay, we talked about that. The Talmud. Okay, we got this here. All of us are Black, natural Americans. The blend with African brothers. All people on earth without a nation, but most essential with the strongest dollar. Yes, I still, the English that you're saying, I'm kind of confused. A lot of us are Black natural Americans. Okay, the blend with African brothers. Only people. Okay, yes, the African American isn't African. And if you saw my class, I even made that even stronger. You Black man and Black woman sitting in America, or if you're sitting in Jamaica or the Bahamas or anything, you go back and look at some of your DNA, especially past the slave master, your grandmothers. You will find, and some of your grandfathers, you'll find the M series genotype. The M series is found in ancient Egypt. You African American, you are a descendant of ancient Egyptians. The Kemetic people, they went to West Africa. That's why West Africa today, I don't have those I don't know if I have those charts here with me. I can show you. I don't know if those charts are here. I'm not sure if I have those charts listed here. But the M series, you'll find the West Africans today have the M series. The Fulani people, they have a mixture because the Fulani people are mixed. Okay, so they have, but you have some that do have the mixture of M series, because I have a cousin in the Gambia that has the M series, and they're Fulani mixed. Okay, mixed Mandinka Fulani, but they have M series. I want you guys to check this out. The black people of the African Americans there in the United States, you look on the side of the heritage, especially coming from their father's side, but those who did not have slave masters, you'll find the M series. I don't know if I have that or not, brothers and sisters. If I have those pictures or not, I'm not sure here. Okay, I'm not sure if I have those. The Egypt is ours. Let me see if I. No, I don't. No, let me see. I'm trying to find those pictures, brothers and sisters. The Old Kingdom, no mysteries. I'm trying to find that. If I could. Oh, here we go. Yes, here we go. There it is, brothers and sisters. I got it right there. That is the contention here that how can I say the African Americans and the West Africans. We're West Africans. The West Africans, the M series and E series. Excuse me, I said M series also, but the E series is what I mean. But the M series. But you see the E, M, and so forth. This is the genotypes. You'll find that among African Americans. How can this be? This is the ancient Egyptian codes. The ancient Kemetic people wore the same codes as those of West Africa because they left Egypt to go to West Africa. And I gave you linguistics. If you guys follow me and other courses I had, I gave you linguistics to show you that the West African language, Wolof, Fulani, Hausa, Akan, there's Ga, the Ewe, all these languages were used in ancient Egypt. See, this is why I said, brothers and sisters, you cling to something in America that's not yours. You're not them. You are Africans. This here gives you even further proof that your ancestry goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. Because if you go deep into your history, especially jet match, you'll find these M series in there. And you'll also find L series. L series on our mothers, like my mother, Fulani, you'll find that the L series among that. You'll find many Africans who came, Fulani people, especially in particular the mothers, they came out from Egypt and they had the L series. See, this is a very, very interesting development here. Now they've done this to close the door on the racists who keep saying that the ancient Egyptians were Tubab. That's not true. They did not sport these DNA, this genotype. You, African American, you do. That's why I'm trying to explain to you. You keep you keep clinging to straws that you're not. You're never going, after over 400 years, they've never accepted you. They still don't accept you today. See, they still don't accept you today, brothers and sisters. That's the thing. This is what we're trying to say. They have not accepted you. They still won't accept you. See? So you don't want to accept your African heritage either. Your African heritage is rich. You're ancient Egyptians. You are ancient Egyptians. You guys think about that. Okay, I'm seeing here where we got a lot of people blend. Okay, yeah, we covered that. Our dear brother, man, look at the older person, and people dress. Yes, they did. The generations inside the United States, the older generations, my generation, they start to break away from that. But my mother generation and before that, you look at the woman. She didn't wear the mini dress. She didn't wear these half naked outfits and so forth and so on. Matter of fact, when they had movies that depicted that, they were a lot of times closed down and people damned them. Okay. And when the woman stepped out, even the Caucasian or the Tubab woman, she had the scarf covering her hair. My mother and them used to wear the dress down past their knees. All this stuff was prevalent, but if you do that today, people think something wrong with you. Because now times have changed. Now women step out on the street in America, they're half naked, and you can say nothing to them. And that's just the way it is. The people just wear anything now. Yes, they wear anything they want. I just found out through that I have, okay, yeah, okay, say yes. Now, see, you are, that, of course, that's ancient Egyptian. See, that's ancient Egyptian. So if you're from West Africa or from even East Africa, you are ancient Egyptian. There's no doubt about that. And you guys follow my course, you will find that. Okay, our brother, hey, how you doing, my dear brother? Thanks for showing up, brothers and sisters. You there in the United States, if you want to start to get a course on learning your history, especially ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, which we call Kempt, you go to this brother's station here, and he gives you a good beginner's courses for you to start to understand your heritage. See, and it's very, very interesting. And he's a professor, so he's a professional teacher. He knows how to do it. But you guys get a hold of his station here, and you begin to follow. He's got some very interesting topics and so forth that'll help you as an African American to start to understand your culture. My answer, yeah. Now see, our dear brother here has accepted who he is. And we have too many African Americans. You ask them questions, they say, I'm American. I start to laugh. I say, what do you mean by you are American? You or they'll start saying, I hear this too, especially my generation. I say, oh, I have French heritage. I have this and that. So I ask them about the African heritage. They don't want to discuss that. But we know why that is, because of the brainwashing. How can us who are from that land turn back around and let me go find that again. How can you diss this? That's my contention with you, my dear brother and sister there in the United States. Are you trying to say this obscurity that you believe in inside the United States is greater than the ancient Egyptians that you are part of? This is your heritage. The West Africans are ancient Egyptians. You guys follow my courses, you'll find this. I gave you proof on this. We got the linguistics to prove it. We now have the DNA to prove it. If you are Mende, Mendinka, Fulani, Wolof, Jolof, there's I forgot the others. There's Sinike. If you're Tuareg, Amazigh, all of these designations that you African Americans, you are ancient Egyptians, and this is your DNA makeup. You guys should see this and understand that, and you should cling to this. You're trying to cling to something that it doesn't want you. It doesn't want you. That America, if they could, they will get rid of us. Yes, they will keep some of us because of sports and entertainment. They see us as an entertainment tool. Yes, singing, dancing, just a bossing and smiling and all this and giving us movies and basketball, football, and baseball. Yes, they accept that. But other than that, they don't want us there. And many of you don't understand your heritage here about ancient Egypt, that you are the ancient Egyptians. And I want you guys to understand that and be proud of that fact. Now, I'm not trying to tell anybody in America, you go and you see a Tubab walking down the street and you go curse him out. No, that's not what I mean. I'm not trying to tell you either you're supposed to go to discriminate against that. No, we as African people, we are very universal. We're more forgiving than any other people on this earth. I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you you should go after to tubab and do things. No, I'm not telling you that either. I'm trying to tell you is that everybody that's there have a heritage that they're proud of. And they talk about that, but you don't. And when you're sitting at a table with a mixed group of people there from different backgrounds, you can't talk about your African ancestry because you're scared to. You don't know nothing about it. So you just cling to this American when it doesn't make sense. You are not American. You are Africans born in America, as Malcolm said. You are ancient Egyptians. You come from West Africa. The West Africans are Egyptian. I gave you the chart. You saw it. Go back and review that and do your research. Now our scientists have done the royal mummies and we found all of these genotypes. They are Mandinka, they're Fulani, they're Mende, Wolof, there are Seneke, Bambara, you name it, Capelle, Akan, Fant. We go all the way down to Igbo, Tiv. You look at all of these ethnic groups, they're all ancient Egyptians. You African American, you belong to this group. Your heritage is West African. It's Tiv, it's Igbo, it's Yoruba. All of this is ancient Egypt. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. When you sit at a round table, there's a whole table, and then the Italian, he start talking about, I'm Sicilian. You see the proudness in his face. He should be. You see a Japanese man talk about his ancestry, about the samurai in the 16th century. You hear the Chinese talk about the Shaolin priests and so forth and so on. You hear the Mexicans talk about theirs. You hear the Southeast Asians talk about their history. Then at the round table, everybody comes to you in the spotlight, come to you. You have nothing to say. You can say nothing. You just say, I'm African American. They say, well, okay, but give us, what do you mean African American? What do you mean? Oh, African continent. But yes, African continent. Where? South Africa? What are you? We can't talk. And it makes us look shameful. I've seen this so many times. And that's my contention. So you guys think about that, brothers and sisters. You guys think about that. And you tell me what you think. The House Elders, they came from the East. Yes, that's right. We know they come from the East. And boy, I tell you guys follow ancient Egypt. You guys can go to King Cam's. He's got his podcast. He talks about ancient Egypt. I gave courses a couple of months back about this. I covered the linguistics to tie in that the Egyptian people were black, that Egypt is ours, and so forth and so on. I gave you the linguistics. I even talked about the Hebrews, how they became Hebrew, and these courses and so forth and so on. But I want you guys to understand that. Our sister Jamil, Islam is the answer. Yes, it is, my dear sister, because there's a reason why the West African continent, the West African area was so powerful. When the Islamic sultanates came, the richest nations on the history of the earth were under Islamic power, in the Islamic banner. Ghana was very wealthy, but in Ghana's later stage, what happened? Began to mix with Islam because you had Takrur region and you had the Amazigh, the Tuareg and so forth and so forth. And then they start to come in, and then Ghana became mixed. It was a practice in ancient Ghana that they had many Muslims practicing. They did not fight this. And there was a long story to that, but I talked about this when I talked about the Murabitun. I'm going to talk about them in another segment. Murabitun was one of the first sultanates of Morocco. You guys, you black people there in the United States, you should see this story. You should see this story, understand this story. They were Amazigh, but they're black people. Now, again, let me see if I can find something. I don't know if I even kept that. Oh, no, I didn't keep it. No, I'm sorry. No, no, slave. I didn't. Oh boy, I didn't keep it, brothers and sisters. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't have it. Where I think it's gone. I had a picture of Yusuf Josephine. Oh boy, I think it's gone. I think I removed it. But anyway, I did a course. I had his picture on one of my marquees in the course I did a couple of weeks ago. And they are something else. But that, we'll get to that another time, and whatnot. Islam, the answer, Jamila says, our dear sister, Islam's answer for true justice. Yes, that's true. When it's practiced correctly, that's right. And we're trying to get our Muslim states to return back to the Sharia law. And then that way we can get our blessings. But this is a hard task, but it will come. Islam is answers for all societal problems that Black people face in America. Yes, that's why I'm trying to get African Americans to see something. When you take, that's why African Americans are in droves going back to their natural religion, which was Islam. And when you see and you understand Islam, again, Christianity is so fractionalized, you don't know what is going on. How can you practice a religion when there's 140 different Bibles to it? 140 different versions. How? And I remember when I was, Christian way back. I would go to the church, and I told the story many times. The pastor would say, read this passage, and 5 people get up. Each person has a different version of it. That's what I'm talking about. See, it's confusing. Islam has brought people from all backgrounds. Yes, embedded in, yes. Malcolm told us in his letter, when he began to change, he saw the universal brotherhood, because our prophet, he used in Arabic, he said, Muslim, aku Muslim, meaning a Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, irrespective of race. I don't care if this guy over here is Japanese. If he goes and takes the Shahadatain to become Muslim, he's our brother. The Islamic brotherhood takes precedence over family brotherhood. Why is that? Because in family, when you have people, family members who are against you, they will fight you to the tooth and nail, and they forgot about you or their brother and their sister, so on. But the Muslim brotherhood doesn't fall off. You are brought into a fraternity that supersedes the bloodlines. That doesn't mean that you disrespect your mom and dad. No, we have exact rules opposite of that. Okay, here we got America only brings people together if they are of any use. No, okay, America only brings people together. Yes, you got that right. They will use you to extent to their detriment, what they want. But once they get finished with you, especially if you're Black, then they throw you back. And this is contention too. What I mean, you have famous people who are driving, famous people going to restaurants, famous people are going, airplanes are now discriminated against, told they can't go into first class, or they can't go into Fifth Avenue stores to buy jewelry. And these people are famous athletes who are millionaires upon millions. But this white woman who stops him, or this white man, 2 Americans stopped them, they didn't care. They said, you're Black, you don't belong here. See, I mean, America has a lot of racial problems, and the racial question has not subsided yet. And now you got Trump. Oh, it's stuck. Brothers, sisters, I don't know if you guys still hear me. Okay. Look like my thing. I don't know if my picture is being frozen. If anybody sees some difficulties in my transmission, please let me know, because I saw the screen being frozen there for a while. It lagged from, yeah, I think I know what has happened here, brothers, sisters. It lagged. The stream is good now. Okay, yeah. I think I know what's going on. King Cam told me, yeah, we hear you. Okay, yeah, because I have a lot of enemies, and they they are after me a lot, and they don't like to see me talk on the phone and whatnot. I think I got something I'm going to do here. I don't know how I can. This may take 1 second, brothers and sisters. Please bear with me on this. Please bear with me for a minute here. Okay. Let me go to that, and we stop that. Here, okay, brothers and sisters. Okay, yes, okay. I'm hoping I'm back on now. Because I had to change something. No, wait a minute. Did they? Yeah, I think. Okay, okay. I think I'm back on air now and whatnot. Okay, what we got here? Okay, of Africans taken were Muslims. Yeah, some were even community. Now there's a dispute about this. They were saying that they're of the statistics as they start to collect data about the African tribes that were taken, a lot of, especially after the 1800 in the early 1800s on, a lot of these so-called tribes were Muslims. So that number jumped up to, they say, between 50 to 70%, because now the slaves, if you saw my first presentation, I gave you a list of the Africans who were taken at the beginning, and most of them were of traditional African religions. But the close, as slavery was ending, 1865 or whatever it was, 63 or what, I forgot the year that it ended. But in the 1800s, the Muslim empires were still running havoc all over the place in West Africa. Muslim wars against traditional African and other Muslims. Then, as the Portuguese, who were slave traders, the British, the Americans, French, the Spanish begin to come in there. They begin to take Muslims out. That's why you have a whole contingent of Muslims like the Fulani, many Wolof, and so forth. Some Ndinka Mende were taken into the Americas. And those numbers jump tremendously of the Islamic, but they want to contend there was only a small amount. It's not true, because when the zenith of the American slave trade, the early 1800s, they were taking black slaves, yes, but they were Muslims, because the Muslim empires were running the show. See, and so this is a very interesting phenomenon. Let me see here. We have here, I think I just about finished on all my thing. How many Americans today know exactly? I ask that question now. How many African Americans today know exactly what Christianity really is? However, Muslim Afro Americans are better positioned to describe their beliefs than Christians, African Americans can. Brothers and sisters, what do you think about that? If you talk to an African American Muslim, he can give you the tenets and his beliefs. He has a straight, narrow, he has a path he follows. He knows he must clean before he takes his prayer. He knows he has 5 daily prayers. He understands that things about marriage, that he is the caretaker of his house. He must take care of his family. He's the breadwinner. The wife does not have to come out of her pocket to support the family. There's a lot of tenets that African Americans can tell you, but you get Christian Americans, African Americans, you begin to ask them questions, you'll get different answers. None can give you something precise. You understand? It's confusing. And when you have a confusion in your religion, you're going to have confusion in your life. And this is that's why I said you look at the African American when he's talking, and you look at the Christian African American when he's talking. And when he starts talking about the tenets, the African American Muslim can rattle off his tenets about what the tenets of Islam require. How about the Christian? No, it cannot. And I'll give you an example of this, brothers and sisters. And I'm getting ready to close here pretty soon. But if there's questions, please, I'll get to you in a minute. There was a big debate here about 10 years ago. Big debate between a prominent African, Caribbean Islamic scholar and a scholar of Christianity. This was in Jamaica, and they had two of these things happen. And the Christian pastor, who's a scholar, was talking this and that. He was saying all kinds of things wrong about Islam. The brother, who was an Islamic scholar, would start talking about jihad. Then the guy who was presenting the program, getting to weigh in on that. The preacher began to weigh on it. Yeah, you Muslims, you have a jihad, meaning that you can kill Christians anytime you want. You can cut our heads off. You can do this, you can do that. And the brother, Islamic scholar, was quiet. And he told him, he said, "You're a pastor. Do you know the Bible?" He said, "Yeah, I know it very well." And I'm trying to remember the passage now. I think it's John 19:27 or something like that. Jesus preached jihad too. Christians, when they hear that, they get upset because he said, "Bring my enemies before me, and if those who don't accept me, then slay them." This is jihad. It's in the Bible. When he was told that, this pastor turned all kind of colors because he didn't even know the passage. But this Islamic scholar said, "Well, what about that?" This is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. The confusion with the African Americans and Africans in general who are Christians is so profound. You don't even understand your tenets. When you say my tenets mean this, then wait a minute, then you're going against the one who you said you followed, Jesus, alayhi salam. He said, "I'm here to enforce the Torah." Jesus didn't smoke. He didn't drink. He didn't fornicate. He didn't eat pork. And he didn't sanction fornication. Christianity sanctions it. Everywhere there's Christian, quote unquote, Christian nations and Christian clans, they sanction this. So this is a very serious situation that we talked about. And this is why we have to look at this. Abraham worshiped Jehovah, and the slaves were disobeyed, came off slaves. Yes, and Islam perhaps to collapse in Islam is. You know what? I don't know. I don't think that's the case, brother. Revelations, no, it's not true. In Revelations talks about the great Antichrist coming. The great Antichrist that will come. We know him in Islam and under the Arabic language as the Ad-Dajjal. We know him as that. We have contention that this evil man will come on this earth. But where we differ with the Christians is the Christians believe that Jesus was crucified. We said, no, we don't believe this. We were told a different story. We were told that someone substituted Jesus to be crucified. Jesus made his ascension into the heavens. The Antichrist will run havoc around the world. Jesus, alayhi salam, will come from the heavens, subhanahu wa ta'ala, will order him to come back on the earth. He will fight the Dajjal, or as you know him as the Antichrist, and all his forces, and we will defeat them. This is what we contend and believe. Revelations also makes a reference to Jesus, alayhi salam. It's conflicting because that wall mural that you have of a blonde haired, blue-eyed man from Norway, that you say is Jesus, Revelation says that he is skin of brass, burnt brass. Burnt brass is not Caucasian. And woolly hair, that's not. See? But this is what I'm trying to say. You can't get the African Americans away from that. We have now won the dispute about the race of Jesus. He was not a Caucasian. We know him to be black. See, and we know the ancient Hebrews were black because we have people who wrote in these stories, like Tacitus. Tacitus was a Roman historian. He wrote at the time, 100 years removed from Jesus, he told about the people in the region. He said they were black. See, so we have all of that. But when you give this to African Americans, many African Americans don't want to hear that because their fear of going against, they think that there's some curse that would happen to them if they know that Jesus was black. They think they're cursed if they think that the Hebrew were black. So they still want to cling on to pictures of Jesus as white as an ornament. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells all religions, except three major graven images. In Islam, we don't do that. Ten Commandment, no posting of graven images. See, Judaism is the same. So we have a lot of contentions there, brothers and sisters, that we have to talk about. Muhammad, the super Jew from Spain. How you doing, my dear brother? Shalom alaikum. Shalom alaikum, my dear brother. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my dear brother. Thank you. Israelis even went to Palestine to kill the natives because they didn't belong to the land. Yeah, this is a deep story in itself, brothers and sisters, and I'm not going to get into the historical aspects of this because we know what's going on in Palestine today, and there's a lot of contention to that. We have to be very careful about what we talk about this issue because it is very, very complex. I have to check and research that. Yes, okay, yeah, you check that, my dear brother. And Ezekiel, no Jesus. I don't know what you mean by that here. I don't know exactly what you mean, my dear brother. Please explain that to me. And Son of God died on the cross. Logic isn't. See, that's another thing too. How can a person be a God and he allows another person to kill him? So when he was killed, what happened to the supreme being who was governing the earth? So did he leave being the supreme being and all-encompassing for 3 days while he laid in the grave? See, these are things, brothers and sisters, you are Christians, you guys have to, there's a logic to this, don't make sense. See? The Hebrew Jews was crucified. The Bible is the primary source. Okay, but brothers and sisters, the Bible, you guys should go back to look at the in English we call it the Book of the Dead, the ancient Egyptian scriptures. How did this book that was written 3,500 years before the Bible was compiled, the Bible has many of the same stories in it, and the names were changed. I gave a class about that in the proofs to show what happened. That's why the Bible is so corrupted. There's 140 versions of it. Let's look at Song of Solomon. If you look at the Hebrew language, which I have some, knowledge of, some knowledge of that. The sentence that Solomon said, "I am black but comely," has been changed to dark. And there's another word that's been used now. Each time they keep changing it to get the black heritage away. See? So this is interesting. And let's go to another point on this. You African Americans in America who cling to the traditions of the Eurocentric Christianity. The Jewish scientists went around the world trying to find their origin. So they went into Europe and they began to test people. Couldn't find it. Finally, Africans, scholars told this, I can't think the brother's name now, told him, you got to go to Africa because the original Jews were there. He went to Africa and he found a people in southwest Africa, and he found the priestly original Jewish gene in them. The original Hebrews were black people, were originally black. The Jews that you see today in Palestine, in Israel, are European converts to Judaism. And they took over Judaism. But they were not the original Hebrews and Jews. They were not. You guys should understand that. Where is the collapse of Islam in Europe? Yeah, that's where I'm curious about that too, because I have some knowledge of the Bible. I'm trying to figure. He said that I never saw anything about collapse of Islam. Matter of fact, there's a contention inside the Bible talking about Prophet Muhammad, that he will come. And also, if you got a hold, there's now on net now the Samaritans. Okay, the Samaritans, they have a long history with mingling with the Muslims. They had the caretakers of many books that were left out of the so-called Bible. One of the last remaining scholars of the Samaritans had a book that John the Baptist, okay, we know him as Yahya. He had one book, and John the Baptist talked about the forthcoming of Jesus, alayhi, and then he talked about Muhammad. This is in his book, John the Baptist. That's right. He said one will come after him will be Jesus, alayhi, and then one after him they call Ahmed. And how he will be tested and known, because he will have a mark on his shoulder, a mark on the right shoulder. I can't remember now the contention. When Prophet Muhammad was coming, going on a caravan, this Samaritan was told in a revelation, he said that he looked in the sky, when you see a cloud that's hovering all by itself coming towards you, you'll know he's coming. Prophet Muhammad was a little boy of 10 years old when he went on, and it was the people wrote about this. The Arabs wrote about this, that everywhere Prophet, because it was hot. You know how in the desert of Jazirah Arab, it's hot, okay? The cloud stayed over the Prophet ﷺ, all the way he got into Syria. The Samaritan scholar knew it's him. When he told him to pull his shirt back, he found the mark that John the Baptist talked about, that the prophets had. You guys should check out these stories. You should check those stories out. Very, very interesting. How you doing, this is my sister here in California. Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. It is sad to say a lot of Christians don't research how the Bible is created. Yes, that's the thing. A lot of stories in the Bible don't make sense. It's true. You have confusion and so forth. You have a lot of things that don't make sense. You have timelines that don't make sense. All of this has been now exposed out. When you have 140 different Bibles, well, how can it be? So when everybody goes to the church, everybody more or less don't have the same Bible. You have the scriptures there, but all the definitions and the translations are different. It's troublesome. The real Jews are Yemen. They are called the most Jewish of the Jews, and they preserved the. No, my dear brother, the original Jews were a black African, because the Jewish scientists, Greenberg, there was, I forgot the other, I can't think of the Jewish scientists, all of these guys that did these studies. And there's a book called The Africans Who Wrote the Bible. You have to get that. It is very, very good. I would have to leave the room here to go get it. The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, they destroy all of these myths. We have Jews, yes, in Yemen, because the Jews did leave Egypt and to go into quote unquote Jazira Arab, as we know, Middle East. Yes, they did do that. But I gave a class on this. But there's some contentions about that. See? And we know that the Jews, the original Jews, were black folk. Really black. Very black. Because when Herodias came to Egypt, the people who would become the Jews, there was no difference between them and the quote unquote ancient Egyptians. Herodotus called the ancient Egyptians, he said they were very black. Ethiop, meaning burnt by the sun, and he said they had kinky hair and wide noses. There was no distinguishing between, there was no such thing as a white Israeli walking around among black folk. That's a lie. Because Herodias was there 440 years before Jesus ﷺ was born. He talked about the people living there in Egypt. In his book called The Histories, he described ancient Egyptians as black. It's very interesting. Now, fast forward 1,000 years or more, Tacitus now wrote about the region of Jazira Arab. He said people still fundamentally black. Herodias, when he did his travels, he said as he go further north into Jazira Arab, he left Egypt, he saw Ethiopia, because that's how Ethiopia got its name. Ethiop meaning burnt, black. Okay, burnt black by the sun. That's what it means. When he went into Ethiopia, he talked about the people. He crossed into Jazira Arab, as we know today, Yemen, into Saudi Arabia, and all the way up to present-day Iran. He said as he started to go towards Iraq, Syria, Iraq, the people were still black folk, but they're more like African Americans today. Their hair was not as kinky. He said they're dark-skinned. They weren't as black as their brothers to the south, but they were still black, and their hair was curly, he said. This is what he wrote in his book. Very interesting histories. Herodias, the great Greek historian. Very, very interesting. It probably destroyed the idols and idol worship in, yes, Arabia. Yes, he did. He destroyed that and stuff, and now it's starting to be brought back. I don't want to get into that. That's a serious issue. A very, very serious issue. Most melanin-rich Jews live in Israel were expelled. Yes. You know, when the Falasha people, the Falasha people of Ethiopia, when Moses ﷺ left, Moses was black because, look, we have to go through that. Again, you go through my course. I just gave you the proof. Herodias was there. He wrote about the ancient Egyptians. And I mean, he wrote extensively. And there's other ones too wrote about ancient Egyptians, and none of them called them white. They were white men themselves. He called them black. And matter of fact, the ancient Egyptians had a name for the white people who came in from Europe. They had a name for them. That's right. And they described them in murals. He said when they first saw the whites come from Greek, he said they came in animal skins. He said some of them had reddish, blondish, beards, and they were very pale in face. Very, very. This is the first time they saw these kind of people. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, they fit the prophecy, and the melanin-rich Jews took exactly as ancient histories depicted them. Yes, there was no difference. The ancient Egyptians and stuff, they begin to branch out. And I gave you the earlier of those. You look at the DNA markers and so forth and so on. And then when they went into Jazira Arab, they were black. Now, if someone says, no, the real Jews are what you see today, they're not. Because the Jewish scientists and the geneticists found the gene. Today, only 3% of the quote-unquote Israelis have the priestly gene. This is the gene that of the original Jews. That's why the scientists could not find them. They went into Asia. They went into Europe. Finally, the African scientists told them, look, the real Hebrews are on this continent. The Jewish scientists followed, and they found the people. And they were black. He found this gene in black folk, not in the Europeans, but in Africa. Interesting. Very interesting, brothers and sisters. Very, very interesting. I agree. Yes. I agree with my sister too. Yes, they don't study. They don't study the Bible. That's the thing. The Muslims, again, we get African American, and we get African American Muslim, we get an African American Christian. When you start talking about the tenets again of each one of their religions, the Muslims can give you more about his book, the Quran. Why? Because there's only one Quran. It's one. I don't care if he's sitting in South America, it's the same. I don't care if he's sitting in Turkey or he's sitting in Japan or Vietnam. That Quran is the same. Not so with the Christian Bible. We know our tenets as Muslims. The Christians don't know their tenets. You don't study. So you have the conflict. When somebody comes to you and asks you, so, I see you at the table, you got beer, you got gin, you have bourbon, and you eating a pork sandwich. He said, I'm confused. I thought the Christians and Jews don't eat pork. What you going to say to him? And then when he comes to you and asks you, said, wait a minute, you said you follow Prophet Jesus? Yes. Prophet Jesus said, I'm here to enforce the Torah. The Torah enforces no eating pork, don't drinking liquor. And the woman is covered and there's no fornication because they stoned the persons who were caught fornicating. We have learned African Americans who are pretty good about the Bible, but they are now getting their butts kicked too, because now we found that the Egyptian Book of the Dead, as our brother here, Camp, because he talks about this as well, it's called the Book of the Forthcoming by Day and Night. Very clever, our African ancestors wrote this book. How is it that many of the things that are in this book was written 3,500 years before the Bible was created, found its way in the Bible? Huh? Song of Solomon's. We have equivalent in that in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. We have equivalent to that. How did it find its way in the Bible? Brothers and sisters, you should do your research. If you're Christian, you should go back to do your research and find out what you actually believe. The Falashas, how about the Falashas of Ethiopia? The Falashas I was telling you about, remember when Moses, he left, he ventured south, he married an Ethiopian woman. It's not he was a white man, Moses was black, but he married an Ethiopian woman and converted people to, quote unquote, at that time to follow his religion. Those people, we know them today as Falasha. When the Falasha people left Ethiopia to get citizenship in Israel, they didn't want to give it to them because they were black. Because they tried to tell them that the original Jews were white and that they were not original Jews. We come to find out they were original Jews, meaning conversions to it. Only these people that's in the South Central called I forgot the name of those people that they found that they are Jews today. They're still Jews. They found this priestly gene. I can't think the name of the people. And they give you all the traditions what happened when they left out of Egypt. They came down south. Okay. It's very interesting, brothers and sisters. Very interesting. It makes it look like improving the ancient Egyptian history. But ancient Egyptians have depictions of them. They look exactly like melanin-rich Jews who were expelled from outer countries. No, see, brothers, when you're talking about later periods in the Egyptian, when they begin to encounter the Asians, we call Asians today, but in Jazira Arab in the north, and then the Europeans, they depicted them in mural as Caucasian. You can see that. They have long silky beards and so forth. They depicted them as that. But they did not depict them as Jews because the Jews were black. When they left out of Egypt, they were black. They were not white. They were not depicted as white. And we know that in the writings we have talking about the quote unquote Jews, they were not described as we think they're to be described because we look at them today. They were not described like that. Totally different people. Totally different. We had a discussion about Yemen and the connection with yes. Dear brothers and sisters, please follow our dear brother here. He gets into this very well, especially because the African Americans, as you start now drifting towards the African continent, you want to understand the continent, you understand about your history, you should start at the beginning. Don't fall into the mistake that many African Americans do. They want to tackle the big time stuff, the most controversial stuff. You have no knowledge. See, you want to start slow. Our brother here is a professor. He will give you the basics so you start you for your research. Don't start to delve into subjects I talk about when you start talking about linguistics, because you're going to get eaten up because you're not ready yet. We all had to have a beginning. You're starting African Americans, you start to learn your history, you go to people who will give you that beginning. And our brother here, King Cam, will give it to you because he's a professor. He will give you that to help you. Now, as you start to graduate, get into deeper topics, then you can. See, but don't make the mistake I see many African Americans do. They jump into the complex topics of linguistics and stuff like that, and they try to marry things up, and they can't because you don't have the knowledge yet. So you got to start from the beginning, and you do that, then you can help yourself. This is where you start right here. This is one of the brothers here who will give it to you because he's a professor, so he knows. We had a lot of discussion about Yemen, yes, and yes, the kingdom of Sheba, yes. See, this again, brothers and sisters, this is a situation here where we got to understand our history. Okay, we have to understand. You have a book that's called Song of Solomon, even though they might have took it from the Book of the Dead of the Egyptians, but Solomon, alayhi, we know him as one of the greatest and most wisest of prophets in Islam. We know him as that. He said, "I'm black but comely." So who's been posting this stuff about the original Jews, so forth and so on, meaning they're light brown skin? No, he said, "I'm black," because when you look at Hebrew, if you look at the Bible's written in Hebrew, look at the wording. The wording black, it doesn't mean dark, it means black. He said, "I'm black." We know Sheba was running the southern part of the Jazira Arab, we understand today, in Yemen. We know Ethiopia at the time had that. We know her name also as Makeda. We know her also. Sheba was the name of the kingdom. We know this was Sheba, but her name was Makeda. And they say her beauty was off the charts. Some say she was the most beautiful black woman that ever lived. That's why I admire her greatly. This is a history you should delve into. African Americans, you should understand the history. It's a beautiful, especially the love story between Sheba, Makeda, and King Solomon, alayhi salam. That love story. I talked about it in a course. This love story and who they produced. They produced a son. I named my oldest son Menelik. I named him that name out of reference to this union. So that's a little spiel I had to give you because the history brings you to the point where you have this proud that you lacking today. The history of the African American is not football, basketball, and baseball. The history of African American is the Frederick Douglasses of the world, the all other great people that we had, the ordinary African Americans who told slavery and so forth and so on, and who invented things. This is the real legacy of the African American, not football, basketball, and baseball. We all love it, we all follow it, we all hanker for it, but that's not our real history and culture. Remember that. Check it out. Look at the ancient Egyptian depiction of Asia as they look exactly as Yemen expelled from. I think we talked. No, because the murals, when you look at the ancient Egyptians, when they talked about this, the people that the ancient Egyptians they described by the 18th dynasty. The 18th dynasty, there was a mural drawn because now you have many different races of people came into Egypt. The Kemetic leadership began to depict all of these people from different lands. That's right. But if you look at the original documents, you look at the ancient Egyptians and the Nubians were quite more blacker in color than the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians were depicted black, and their brothers to the south, the Nubians, were as jet black, and they had a name for them. They called them, I'm trying to remember now, maybe King Camp can remember, Seti, Ta-Seti. Ta-Seti means because of the bowl. Ta-Seti is the name that they used to, and there was another word also describing the Nubians. So all of this kind of history here depicts them as black, but the murals they depicted all these other races that they become into Egypt. I'll get back into that topic later on in another segment, another time. Kemetic ancestors who wrote the book of the Common, yes, were taught us that's right. See, brothers and sisters, you say you're Christian in the United States, but you have this Trinity. Where did that come from? Jesus was monotheistic. He believed in one God. What did the Lord's Prayer say? It didn't give reference to multi-gods that you worship him and subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, what did he say? I'm trying to remember the Lord's Prayer. I forgot how to say the Lord's Prayer now. I can't remember it. But it's Tawheed. It's monotheism. He gave that to the people because they asked how to pray. Go back, do your research, African American Christians. Please go back and do your research. Your channel is Yahya. We know Jah and Yahya is the same. No, Yahya is named after you go to chapter Maryam in the Quran. Yahya is one of the greatest prophets who you know him as John the Baptist. See, so and we became acquainted with his books because of the Samaritan who had his books. See, and so the Yahya has to do with that. It was a name brought forth, a new name brought forth that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala revealed. And he talked about the prophet Yahya, which you guys know him as John the Baptist. So that's what that means there. Bible comes 10,000 years later. Well, we have Puritans who don't eat pork. Yes, we know of them. And we have also the Mormons who are offshoots. They have some things too about not doing things and whatnot, and conservative dressing and whatnot, and so forth and so on. Yes, that this is a true statement. They have that, but they still have the fallacies of the discrepancies that they have in books. Why did the Samaritans were the caretakers, and why did the European Christians begin to kill them when they found them? See, and the Samaritans came under the banner of Islam for us to protect them. I don't know if you know about these stories. I gave classes about that. The Samaritans had the truth. The Samaritans regarded Jesus as a prophet, not as a God. And they told that because they had the books. The Christians said, no, we're going to change that. And they did. So in 1506, I think, they depicted Jesus as white and so forth and so on, even though before that. And it's been exposed because Putin opened up his vault. They had all the original stuff from way, way back of Jesus being written by Europeans, showing him black. And Putin, go back to that. Remember now in the churches of Russia, he said, we ain't having no more of this fallacy of white Jesus Christ. We're going to depict the disciples and Jesus as they were, because they drew them as black. Do your research, brothers and sisters. Please do your research. The Egyptians were no, brother. No. See, no, brother. Let me tell you something. You got to go back to. You have to understand. You got to go back to the hieroglyphics. You got to go back to the language of the ancient Egyptians. We know the Kemetic people. We know this Meta-Neher. You got to look at, and you got to learn this language. You got to look at the hieroglyphics. Many of us thought that because we were being taught by Europeans or the Tuba, and they told us they were polytheists and they had 1,000 gods. It's not true. Now we understand. Just like in Islam. In Islam, we have 99 names to describe God. Allah, we have 99 names. The ancient Egyptians had names too to describe Subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know him as Ra, but they also had other names for him. But the difference is they depicted Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, they depicted him in many different forms. But not that they worshiped those forms, but they depicted, because this is their reference to him, they depicted that he was the creator. Because if you look at something, Ra means the creator. What? They say it's a sun worship. It is not, brothers and sisters. If you understand the linguistics, the sun is here. Ra means the power behind it. What's the power behind the sun? See? I talked about that in other English. I can't get into that today because it's complex. But I give you that part of it. They were not polytheists. They were not. Okay, where we at here? We got the primary focus of the page, African history is knowledge. Yes, Bilad Sudan. Brothers and sisters, again, West Africa, in particular, we have this word Bilad, meaning the land of the black folk. You have some of your ancestors, African Americans, who took the name Sudan. Sudani means black man. You have some of your ancestors who were great scholars in Islam. They took the name Sudani, meaning black. And also they took the name Takruri, meaning black people of West Africa. Go back to your history and look at it. It's a rich history. See, very, very rich. However, the Kemetic people believed in the hidden one. Yes. And again, we get into that. That's why we're saying we're all duped into believing at one time there, because when the Europeans were being thrown out of the ancient Egypt saga, they begin to curse the ancient Egyptians, calling them polytheists. But before, they were praising them. Now all these works we start to understand better because we start to understand the hieroglyphics. They were monotheists. And then you read today, the Egyptians were sun worshipers, but Ra means the power behind the sun. And there's also another term for this about the hidden one. There's because when you're reading the hymn of Ra, it's Tawheed. And you have to read that. And it's similar to that of the first things of Genesis. How can it be? Huh? It was written 3,500 years before the Bible. You guys look at that. You guys question what you believe if you say you're Christian. Don't just settle for what you hear from what the two Bible American scholars tell you or the African American bishops tell you. You do your research and you go back to those things. When they start talking about jihad and you start talking about the Muslims, then you go by what did Jesus say about that? In John 19:27, I think it is, where he said, bring my enemies before me and slay them. That's jihad. That's jihad. The same, yes. This is here again, brothers and sisters, we got something about the linguistics. I won't get deeper into this because the people who have not had courses in this, they're not going to understand that. We have a complex religious belief, the ancient Egyptians, and we have something connected to the Arabic language through that. I won't get deeper into that because it'll be confusing to you. I'll leave that for you. And you look at my classes, I call Egypt is ours. Please, brothers and sisters, subscribe to my station and go pick up these videos and go through that, because the ancient Egyptian history is very, very, very rich, and is your history. Is your history, you African Americans, is your history as well, because you carry in your loins these emissaries, genome markers of ancient Egyptians. It's in your heritage as well. Taseti is the land of the bow, yes. And yes, and Tameri, yes. But the ancient Egyptians had beautiful names to describe their land. This is why I say, brothers and sisters, when you look at everything in retrospect, and you compare the confusion that you say you worship inside the United States, and you look at the book and the confusion. You say you follow this wholeheartedly, but then you have all this other stuff. Is now you find that your Bible, that a lot of the entries you can find in the Egyptian books. How did it find its way into the? I covered that course. I won't get into that today. I gave you what happened. How did the book of forthcoming by day and night found its way into the Bible? I won't touch that now. I touched it in a course already. How it got that, how it became that. But I won't touch that today because it's long and lengthy. But it's very, very, very interesting. Cameron history is recorded Egyptians as idolaters. There were once kingdom. Yes, it's recorded as that's yes, the ancient the Europeans, and even we have scholars today will tell you that. But now we broke down the hieroglyphics and we start to have knowledge of the Metaneher, the language. And now we understand that, again, as I repeated again, the ancient Egyptians believed in Tawhid. And they had different names for God. Ra was one. Amen is another. For meaning, just like in Islamic religion, we have 99 names to describe the supreme being, Allah. We have 99 names. The ancient Egyptians had many, many names to describe, and we thought it's polytheism because why? The Egyptians wrote their admiration for Subhanahu wa Ta'ala on murals, and they drew them in animals, they drew them in different things. We as Muslims today, we can't do that. We are forbidden because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tells us don't put that. But those things 5,000 years ago, see, they were not given those prohibitions. So they drew Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in different forms. Why? To say that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is behind it. He created these animals. He created the fish. He created the ponds. So the ancient Egyptians began to depict Subhanahu wa Ta'ala saying, we call it this name here. We call it this name here. We call it this name. And they depict them in drawings. It was not polytheism. We got here. Okay, I think I'm right. Wait a minute. I would say if I should describe any man-made, no African American should describe to any man-made religion. Okay, now we get in that. Now the man-made religion is not Islam. The man-made religion is not coming from your ancient ancestors in ancient Egypt. The Metaneher, coming from what they believe, that's not man-made, because they have revelations to give them that. I give you an example of what I'm talking about, my dear brother. Prophet Muhammad was given many revelations about many things. This didn't come from man. I'll give you something, and I'll get on that because I talked about this another time. The scientists here in modern times found this out. He gave some miracles that didn't make sense to people at the time. He talked about it because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala told him. He said that the oceans don't mix. Now go back to that. This is powerful. If you go to South Africa, this is where the Atlantic and the Pacific meet, right? Remember? It meets. If you do analysis of that, the two oceans don't mix. This is a miracle of Allah or Yahweh or whatever name you want. They don't mix. Nobody had this answer. The prophet was given as Muhammad was given this from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And there's certain times of the season where you can actually see a dividing line. When you go to the Cape at the very tip, southern tip of Africa, down to South Africa, certain times of the year, I don't know what happened, you can actually see the dividing line. The Atlantic is on one side, the Pacific, and they don't mix. He was given that. The second one, then I move on. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the water, fresh water, what you call sweet water, it comes from the mountains or from the streams that flow into the ocean. It doesn't mix with the salt water. Modern times, we found this to be the case. That's right. It's not man-made religion. That came from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I'll give you one more and I will stop. We talk about Ramses. Remember Ramses and Moses? There's a lot of Ramses. I won't get into that history. King Cam, he covers a lot about Ramses. I may talk about them. I did talk about it, I think, in one of my courses. But Ramses, the nemesis of Moses, alayhi salatu wasalam. Nobody actually knew the whereabouts where Ramses perished in the where the Red Sea. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Muhammad the location where he was. It was 1957, 1947, I can't recall the year. They found his remnants in the area that the prophet said it was that, where it was at. That's not a man-made religion, brothers and sisters. That's not a man-made religion. It's not. It's not. So that's why Islam is the truth. And there's a lot of other miracles that transport it too. I give you this one, I have to stop. We have end times. The Christians they know about this, of course, and maybe your bishops talk about it, but they don't have a timeline. The Prophet, subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave him a timeline and said, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. I talk about this in other courses. One of the times we know that we're getting to the center, going now towards the end of the earth, he said that the Bedouins from the desert, Jazir Arab, will start to build the tallest buildings. This is 1,400 years ago that he said that. There's no way, because the Bedouin at that time were warring tribes in the desert, fornicating, drinking, fighting over women, stealing each other's women. They were backward. Even in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the desert Arab, the Arab we call Arabi, the people from the desert in Arabic language. But when the prophet said that to the companions, I can imagine their faces say, what? These guys? So we look down on who's warring, fighting over women and drunkenness and all that and fornicating? They did build the tallest buildings of the world, didn't they? So we're at that point. The next point coming, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said mass killings. He called it el-Harj, will start and beginning. We have that. So now we're going towards the end, because the Prophet ﷺ was given this by Allah, told him that we'll have mass killings, meaning, translation, the el-Harj is when I'm sitting here with a gun. I go shoot my brother over here. I don't know why I'm shooting him. My brother's sitting there trying to figure out why I'm killing him. This is the el-Harj. This is going on today. We have killing, ruthless killings. People don't understand why they're dying, and the other ones don't know why he's killing. Very interesting, brothers and sisters. Very interesting. Egypt, statues, worship. They didn't worship their pharaohs. They didn't worship him. See, this is the movies that you're talking about now. You got to understand. You have to look at and understand history. Again, those who, I don't know what your nationality is, my dear brother, but the African Americans, as a general rule, you're very weak in history. The world history, you even weak on the history of America as well. You should go back to read your history to understand the African history very well. I gave you King Cam. You follow he can help you with your African history at the beginning. When you start to go into real deep topics, then you can start. I mean, you can still follow my channel. I'm not trying to say you cannot. I want you to subscribe, because you can listen and start doing your research. We all had to start from the beginning. But you need to do your researches, because the professors in university, because they have biases and racism, they will tell you that they slammed the Egyptians. They slammed them now. Because why? We've removed them. We removed the whiteness from the Egyptians. And now we know them to be black. Pick up your swords. Pick up your swords, Jesus. That where is that passage? Yes, that's jihad. That's jihad. I don't know what passage that is, but I don't know what passage that is. But yes, you pick up your swords. What is that? The Christians say that they don't believe in that there's no jihad. That's jihad. Okay, civilizations rise and fall. Yes, the Hebrews rose and fall. Some, yes, we know, because we see that this is true. That they had times, and subhanahu wa ta'ala spanked them when they start to disbelieve. He let others come to rule over them. Okay, anything going back to the beginning before any man-made religion, and walk the path. Now, what man-made religion are you talking about now, my dear brother or sister, or whatever you may be? Please explain that, because I don't know what you mean by man-made religion. I already gave you the example that when you get revelations and a man receives a revelation, that's not man-made, because he's given laws from Allah, and he's given you miracles to top that. So how? And then you look at Moses alayhi salam, he gave us these tenets. We disobeyed those tenets. See, Islam will benefit the African American community. We're starting to see that this African American community start to cling towards going to be African. This is now part of this. They're starting to do that, and this will help us to bring us together. If America came to Islam and they bring in the Sharia, one of the things that's killing the American government, I mean, it's killing the society in America now, is the woman. When the laws change to benefit the woman to the point where she can lie on a man and put him in jail and even have him killed. This is why, now please don't misunderstand me, dear sisters. Please don't misunderstand me on this. I'm giving you only the aesthetics, the thing that is true. When they begin to change the laws, now your paternity fraud is so great in the United States that they're starting to recommend in each state now. There's now passages where people are trying to get this passed through, that when you marry and have children, they do an automatic DNA test to make sure that that man is the father, because the paternity fraud inside the United States is so great that this is happening. And what happens, the man spends all that man, how many African Americans? I mean, how many? And not only that, two Bob Americans too, and Mexicans. And I saw the one, they have this lady is a judge. She has her program now talking about this stuff. This brother was married to a woman. She had 3 babies. She said it was his babies. And when they divorced, they threw him in jail. He was in jail for 5 years. Finally, some brother came to him and told him, he said, look, I know this man was screwing your wife when you were going to work. And she was having affairs with these people. He had the DNA done. They brought him back to court because he couldn't pay the child support. The court racked him over the coals and threw him in jail. He found out those 3 children were not his. Did they do anything to the woman? No, she lied on him. I saw another girl, this sister, African American sister, beautiful girl, beautiful. She wrecked her husband over the coals. And then when the judge says, we did the findings of the DNA test, your husband's not the father of your child, she said, oh, well, in Islam, we don't have that crap. You come here to Morocco and do that, you go to jail. We start to have that. We had 3 years ago, we had the first case. She blamed brother was weak in the parliament. You know, I'm not get deep into that. I'm not gonna give you no names. He did something he shouldn't have done. He's married. The young girl, she knew what she wanted to do because she wanted to get supported. So she threw her beautiful self after this man. He finally fell to her whims. He had sex with her. She went right back, and she was pregnant by another man. But she went back and said this guy was a father. When they found out, he said, hey, look, I'm not the father of the child. They did testing. She lied. He threw her in jail for a year. We don't play that here. In the United States, you play that. This paternity fraud is so rampant now. They say between 30, now going towards 40% of the babies being born, the man who's supposed to be quote unquote the father of the baby may not be the father. What is going on over there? Huh? See, that's just another side issue. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Muhammad had a dream of a black woman and said he was no. That's not the right deed. This is wrong. What you're saying here, that's wrong, my dear brother. I'm sorry. How you doing? This is my cousin here. Boy, I tell you. All right, my dear sister here in Compton, California. She lived around the corner from me. 5 years old. We were 5 years old. We always had this connection. We didn't know what it was, but we always had this connection together. Always. As children. we put our DNA thing in jet match. She's my cousin. She's Fulani. And it's very, very interesting. I've been knowing her since 5 years. I mean, we went to school together, elementary school. And we always had this affinity. And she's my cousin. Yeah. Very interesting, brother, sister. All African Americans, get your DNA if you can afford it, please. So you can reclaim your history. Your history is not basketball, football, and baseball and entertainment. That's not in making movies. That's not your history. Go and get your DNA, brothers and sisters. And the ethnic groups that you represent, learn about that and pick one and choose it and become that. Stop being African American. You are now Hausa American, or you Mende American, or you Fulani American. That's the proper title, not African American. Fulani American, Hausa, Wolof American, Mandinka American, Tuareg American, Amazigh American. That's the right title. You got to get your DNA done first. Then change this misnomer called African American. It's too vague. Too vague. Yes, I teach history too. Egypt was no. You know what? Again, brother, if you teach ancient Egypt, then these names that you talk about right now are names that are bastardized by the Greeks. What is Manetho's real name in Meteneher? Is not that. See? And the Islamists who killed the Saint Christians were no, brother, you're going way out of line here. No, you have the Sharia Allah Ta'ala. Let me say this again, you have to do your research. You got to do it right and be fair. In Islam, you just cannot kill a Christian because he's a Christian. And matter of fact, you see that statement here, the saints, the clergy, we have a strong prohibition. Even in war, we cannot kill them. We're not talking about the miscreant Islamic groups today who kill anybody, children, they're not covering the Sharia law. Our prophet gave us a guide. Churches, synagogues, we can't destroy them. We can't destroy the trees. We cannot kill any religious, the bishops, the rabbis. We cannot kill them. So what you're talking about here, brother, is wrong. Is wrong. Okay. Yes, my dear brother here, he used jet match as well. He said that, and me and our dear brother, we collaborate quite often, and he's a good man. Please, brothers and sisters, if you want your beginning of African history, go to King Cam. Please go and subscribe to the station and get your history so you start to understand that. And please, African Americans in the United States, if you can afford it, get your DNA, please. Okay, please get your DNA. You got to have that. Please get that. So you can reclaim a history that's lost because you're not whole yet. You say you're African American, but everybody else around you, he's Japanese American, he's Mexican American, he's Vietnamese American, he's Italian American. You should be able to, your history is rich, brother. If you say you're Hausa, you look at the House of Kings and look at the House of Kingdoms. You can say, man, hey, I'm African, but specifically, I'm Hausa. I'm Hausa American. That's right. You're there in America. You're born there, but you're Hausa American. You're Fulani American. You're Capelli American. Whatever the situation may call for. That's what you cling to reclaim a hidden part of you that's tearing you up. It's causing the confusion. Get baptized. It thanks get baptized. It was thanks to Black people were free from slavery. I don't know what you mean by that, my dear brother. Don't know. How many all the mankind started out as Muslims, meaning yes, until we start to deviate from that monotheism, we begin to, and this is why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala punishes us and punishes nations when we start to get errant. This is why, like the Muslim states today, we have so many rulers. Well, we should have one ruler. We should have one Islamic state. We don't have that. and we're being punished for that. It's really, really a sad, sad epitaph. Oh yeah, okay, brother. Well, hey, join the club. Me and you have the same, because my mom's side is she's the Fulla and the Amazir Mozab. The Mozab is the original people who came out of Egypt. They call themselves Mozab. They became the Amazir. The Amazir, you know them as the bad word of Berber, but no one calls. I live in Morocco. You don't call no Moroccan Berber. It's derogatory. It's like calling them the N word. Mozab is the original Amazir people that came from Egypt, and they call themselves Mozab. See, okay, awesome. Anti-American. I'm a Black American from Chicago, and I'm Shia Muslim. Zenji. My dear brother, you know, Zenji, you know that is a bad term to call Black people that. If we understand it's the same, if you're talking about the Swahili word that was used, Zenji, and the Arabic used, we call Black people Zenji, it's not good. It's very, very bad. If we talk about that now, if you're talking about in Farsi, I'm not sure what language you're talking about, because you say you Shia and so forth, pure Zenji, because that's a bad term to call a Black man that Black African. Our brothers here, I'm full of Yoruba. Yes, my dear brother. Yes, I know you're full of, because we talk. I know you're full of by your looks. I know you're full of, and I know the Fulani people have a look about themselves. I know that. You know, if you look at my sister, especially when she's young, if you saw her, you would know. We put her with the Fulani clothing, no doubt. You would say, "Oh yes," because my sister had real long hair. My dear cousin who's here now, her too. You look at her, you know she's Fulani. There's no doubt in your mind. And my dear brother here, no doubt in my mind, you're Fulani. We know that. You can look, you can tell. African Americans go by FBA now, Foundation of Black Americans. Yeah. This is again where people may disagree with me, but I contend that the African Americans, you short up the American part. You were born in America, yes. But what about the African part? You have not settled that debate yet. That's where the confusion, why we hurt, why we are lost, because we don't settle the African part. But you do your DNA, that African part now will be settled. So the American part you settle. Now when you take the DNA, it comes back and says Fulani. Now you have the wholeness. Now you're a Fulani American. Nobody's trying to say take the American from you. No. But why the Japanese man said, I'm Japanese American. I'm Italian American. I'm Greek American. You hear it and you have this proudness about them. How about us? We don't have that. Yes, my dear brother. Family, if you know your heritage, please share. Yes, you should, because this is an important factor, brothers and sisters. It's important for you. This is the confusion I'm talking about, because, and if you find out and you do your DNA, you find out the ethnic group is Mandinka, you're a Muslim. Okay? If you say Hausa, you're Muslim. You say Fulani, you're Muslim. And all these ethnic groups. And if you come back with Tuareg, you're Muslim. It comes back, says Amazir, you're Muslim. All of these type of groups, you come back, you are Muslim. My recent history is that the past of the rich people are Black Americans. Black Americans, my recent here is here. The past and rich, but my people are Black. Yes, again, yes. Again, brothers and sisters, I don't know if you see my analogy to this. And I'll say this again, I won't touch on that again. You sit at a round table at work, and people start to talk, and you have 6 different people around you: Italian, Japanese, Chinese man, maybe Mexican, okay, maybe a man who's got Greek. They're all talk about their heritage, I'm a Greek American, I'm Italian American, I'm Japanese American, da 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 da. Then when you come, you just say one thing, African. They say, yeah. Anybody smart would ask you where in Africa, because they know it's a big continent. You can't answer that. That's where the foolishness comes in. See, so we have to settle that. Our job is to protect our people so our nations do not fall to states like the Arab ones. We know that the tribes who came to know we're a Christian or Jacob, we speak our own. The American tongues, but that's American Indian. That's the tongue of the American Indian tongue. That's not the tongue of the from the Zero Arab, because the languages have been spoken in ancient times, before when Hebrew was created, the Arabic came, and then the Aramaic is no more than the Amharic. We've proven that out if you saw my class. So those are the tongues that were spoken. But the contentions of the heritage that's written in the Bible is not right. There's a lot of things that there's discrepancies about the heritage line. Where all these Zegabites and all these other people they mentioned in the Bible? Where are all those people? How did they all disappear? You can understand maybe one person, some group disappeared. Where all of these groups that they had, they all disappeared because it was fictitious. They didn't exist from the beginning. DNA is U.S. is run by, no, brother, that's not right. Hebrews go to, yes, this is not about race or tribe, but a spirit to wake up. Abraham had two sons. Okay, Moses didn't reach Allah on his own. It was, okay, I don't know what you mean that, because see, when you go into the history about what happened with Moses, that's a complex history. It's not what you saw in the movies. There's a lot of contention to that. And I don't know if I'm going to touch that in another class or not, but it's a very, very complex issue. And even the thing about Isaac and Ishmael, this is a complex issue in itself, and it takes a long time to discuss that. Hebrewness, thanks for sharing your Hebrew and Native American. Yes, thank you for that, dear brother, for sharing your heritage. All of us should be proud of whatever it is that you are, even if you're Italian American, or no one can take that definition from you. But I'm specifically talking about the black man, because he should have something else to talk about instead of saying I'm American, because that ain't going to fly. As Malcolm said, he said, if you're American, they will be killing you as they did. That's what Malcolm said all these decades ago. If you were American, they wouldn't treat you as a second-class citizen. See, do you know we have turned Jamaica, Christian Moors fled, West Islam Moors fled. I don't know what you mean by that, because the Moors, that's a difference. I talked about the Moors and the original Moors. I don't know what you mean by this comment, because we know that they went into Jamaica as slaves, and we know that because we found literature among the slaves that had Islamic tenets in it. Some had copies of portions of the Quran as well that they found dug up, and so forth and so on. So it's a very interesting history. You're talking about religion based on flesh and not spirit. You look at the old early kingdoms and not what the prophet actually taught. Yes, there's all kind of kingdoms everywhere, but we're believed that the man that everybody, a prophet was brought to all to bring them to monotheism. What we did with it is where where the problems began. Every mankind had some prophet come to them, because this is the order of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, to make sure that we worship right. These people didn't do that, and we all got spanked for it. The American Indian deviated from his religion and began to worship the things that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created, began to worship the creations himself, and it's wrong. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala didn't say that. He said, you marvel at my creations, but don't worship it. See, and we did. And the Africans did the same thing. We did things wrong. We began to worship the rivers the forest and the animals, and we begin to take things not right. And that's why we're hurting today. Subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed a wicked people come to take us as slaves and to begin to control us. And we still on this continent are free because of our dereliction of not worshiping Subhanahu wa ta'ala correct. And that's the bottom line. So, brothers and sisters, I don't see any more questions here. I'm getting close here. I've been on real long. It's been over 2 hours a day. And, it's late here in Morocco. I'm going on 9:30 at night. And I'm glad that everybody showed up today. And this is one of the better ones I've had in a long time. And I thank each and every one of you for showing up today. I appreciate that. Now, dear brothers and sisters, please subscribe to my station. This is the other thing that is very upsetting about Black folk. I saw this thing and I saw the study. It's very, very telling about us. They showed a Black person, talk about a Black man, and it gave a whole list of things, of topics and whatnot. The Black man, they told to subscribe. This is modern times. We're not talking 60 years ago. This young Black man subscribed to other than Black stations. The Black station he wouldn't subscribe to. He subscribed to others. And one of the stations was racist. They had a lot of racial connotations to it. He subscribed to it. This is what's wrong. That's why I'm saying we have something wrong with us. There's a subscription he should be taking. He should be taking camps to support his Black brother. But he won't. He'll go and support a Klansman's station. When that man will call him the N-word and go after him. We have problems, brothers and sisters. This is what I'm saying. Even if you disagree with me or with Cam, we are still your brother. We're still African brothers. You should subscribe. What did the Mexicans do? What did the Japanese and Chinese do? Huh? And even what the Tubab does. We don't support our stations. We try to find something wrong. We say, oh, I can't support Yahya. I don't like because he's a Muslim. I don't like this and that. But then you'll go support a station that's racist. Brothers and sisters, please, we got to get past that. I don't know how many subscriptions I have in my YouTube. I have so many. When I find a station is Black, I like it. I enjoy it. Even if I may disagree, I subscribe because I want to support our brothers and sisters. We need to do that. We need to do that. So please subscribe to my station, even if you agree or disagree, but please subscribe. And you have something, please give me something. Now, of course, brothers and sisters, if something is profane, you don't subscribe to it. If there's a brother who's got a profane station, a lot of profanity, vulgarity, and so forth, don't subscribe to that. I'm not telling you to go subscribe to something like that. But you got some brother that's doing something good. You may disagree with him, but you support him. But something profane and against your morals, you don't subscribe to that. You got a gangster rap station, I won't subscribe to that. Even though they're Black folk, I won't describe it because I don't believe in that gangster rap stuff. I won't tolerate that. But you got some history. You got King Cam. He's a professor. He's giving you history. Go support his station. Go support your brother. Give him something. Support him. Okay? This is what we should do as African people. We must do this. This is part of the healing, that we start to love one another and help one another. Everybody else does it except us. Think about that. So my brothers and sisters, I'm going to end it here. And I really appreciate you guys coming out today. Please subscribe to my station. And if you guys need to get a hold of me, please too. I'm going to put that here. I forgot to put that. No, I got a new station now. I can't even remember what. I think. Shabaka. Yeah. Okay. Sunyani. Fulla. Yeah. 2024. I think that's right because it's new because I had to start to change because I had so many compromised stations. Yeah, that's mine there. So there, you want to get a hold of me, you guys have questions or something, please come, to write me. I get a couple more of these and I will go get baptized in Christian faith. The Quran says that you can strike a woman. No, brother, please. You can, yes, but you got to understand the context, meaning they're talking about a unruly woman, but not strike her like killing her or hitting her with her head. You get a club and you beat her to death. No. What they mean by that is you got an unruly woman inside the house. She's cursing at you. She's disobeying you. She's out of control. You can go to tap her to kind of like wake her, not slap her, not hit her with a mallet or get some type of weapon to go and beat her. You can't go get a belt and start to beat her. That's not what they mean. But that's not what Supreme Martel meant by that. And our scholars have tackled this issue. That's wrong. Okay, I think that led by Tubop. Yes, where I'm. Yes, yeah, you're right, brother. You're right. Anti-American is not my history. Lineage comes from Zanzibar. My people come from that line. I don't call myself African American. Not those around me. We are Black Americans, a mixture of African. Well, that's your contention. Uh, 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 you don't call yourself African American. That that's your prerogative. You say we are Black Americans, but what is your what is your DNA say? This is my contention to you. It doesn't say Black. You have a specific DNA history. See, and that DNA history stretches you to Africa, and there's no such ethnic group in Africa called Black. There's none. See, this is what I'm contending, my dear brother. If you do DNA, you're going to find out you got heritage. You're somebody. You could be full American, or you could be Hausa. You could be some ethnic group, Mandinka or Mende or Capelli. There's so many ethnic groups. Sonike, Ewe, Akan. I mean, there's many that you could be. See, Tiv. I mean, there's so many. So I suggest that you do your DNA, then come back to me to tell me. You're a mixture with African. What ethnic group are you mixed with? Native Americans forced Europeans. I didn't catch that conversation there. The African American, the African culture are regarded from Egypt and Kush. Brother, we have a matriarch system. That we have some that are and some are not. And I like on my side, I prefer to use my mother's heritage, which you have the right to do, to claim her heritage, because that's what shows up in my DNA is her heritage, and stuff like that. On my dad's side, we have the Igbo, we have Omo people of Sudan, and I have some Yoruba and stuff on my dad's side. My mom is Fulani and Amazigh. See, so that's on mommy's side, my mom's side. So that's what I proclaim to be, and so forth. And this is the beauty of us being African people. You have 5 or 6 different groups that you can cling to. You pick one. That is a blessing that you have. You can pick one. You can decide, okay, hey man, I'm Fulani. I have Igbo, I have Ewe, I have Capelli, but I'm gonna run with Fulani. You're right. If you decide to run with Ewe, you're still right. If you decide you want to run because you're Hausa, you're still right. Think about that, dear brother. Think about that. The 12 tribes are in the Revelation. Tribes. You see that the tribes. This is a contention that the scholars talk about the tribes and stuff like that, and whatnot. I won't get into that because it's lengthy and it's complex. But there's a lot of stuff called the American Indians. There's a lot of contention because now there's a book out, I think, where they were talking about they took the memoirs of Columbus. Columbus began to describe the Indians in the Caribbean when he came across. And it's funny, he didn't call them white or light brown skin. He said they were very blackish, very, very blackish. Yes, very, very blackish in color. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Anti-American. We celebrate that I am a Black American foremost. I'm a Muslim. Yes, this part you said is right. Regardless of your ethnic group, if you're Muslim, that's the first. You're Muslim first. You're not Fulani first. You're Muslim first. Then you Fulani, or Capelle, or whatever the situation, or American Indian, or Irish, or Italian. You're Muslim first. See. Okay, that's we got our brother here. Yes, the tribes today did okay. All mankind is possible. Everybody preach. Yeah, coming in. Yes, my dear brother Ellis. You know, I want you to get back and do some research and go to King Cam if you want, and go look, because you quote the Bible a lot. You should go and look and go to his course, or you can follow mine as well. I talk about these issues here because you need to find out where your Bible actually got its documents from. You're going to be shocked. If you really want to know, you're going to be shocked. Chapter made covenants with the people of the future. Okay. The Hebrews, okay, we exist before, yes, before Islam, because yes, 1400 years ago, Islam came about, but all the prophets believed in monotheism. So this is just the name that was bestowed on something that's older, that Abraham, all the prophets had. See, so, and yes, way before that, but there was no such thing too as Jews at that time either. See, that was a later creation. So we have to look at that for what that is. Okay, excuse me. We got what we got here. My brother here. We live Arab guy in Morocco, and he asked him why people ignore him. He said that because they think that Moroccan Berber from here. He said, I did too until I heard you speak. Yes. Well, remember, brother, please, the Berber here, you can talk to any Moroccan will tell you Berbers are very derogatory. Very, 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 very derogatory. Okay. Very derogatory. We use here the word Amazigh. That's just the actual, here in Morocco, we're not Arabs. By culture, yes, but by nationality and DNA, it's proven we're Amazigh. And we're proud of that because I'm part Amazigh. I have that on my mom's side. Amazigh and Fulani blood. So, but here we're Amazigh people, and we have an Amazigh language, but our culture is Arabic and we're Muslims. See, so that's, a fact. And discrimination here is not as much as you would think, like in America. You don't have that. You will never find a roving cop go after a black man who's walking on the street. You ain't gonna find that crap. It's silliness and all that stuff here. You won't find that. Our job is salvation. Yes, but you have the right salvation. The right. Our dear sister said most African Americans don't want to claim their African heritage. I've been saying that. My dear cousin just said it. It's true. They don't want that. That's why we have a problem. How can you deny some part of you, especially when it's all over your face and your color and your hair, and even the way you pronounce the English words, the African dialect's still there. And you don't want to pronounce your African heritage. That's why they laugh at us. And that's why they still call us other words. See, we should think about that. I think that the change, but it takes time. Yes. Professor Cam, he's talking about this. It's true. It takes time. That's why, again, we have to go back to the basics and start to have the education to uplift us. We need the beginning. But again, many African Americans, they fall victim to something, then they fall off. They go into the deep, deep, deep topics that takes a lot of time and knowledge. They don't have it yet. And they get discouraged and they fall off. See? And this is what the problem is. I talked about Black nationalism. I talked the failures of it. There's a lot of things that we slip into. that doesn't get us to where we need. Black nationalism doesn't bring you to real African, to be African, because it's even that is a misnomer and confusion. Black nationalism. What is black nationalism? How can you be black nationalism, but it has nothing to do with Africa? I talked about that issue. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, there rather than some Europe dismiss the African part. Yeah, our people are going through. Yes, we're going through identity crisis. That is a big, serious issue with the African Americans. A serious issue, and we have to solve that issue because in order for us to get approval from Subhanahu wa Taala, we cannot. Subhanahu wa Taala gave you a heritage. He didn't tell you to deny that heritage. He told you to embrace it. And we have to have that even keel, meaning you have to have that balance. The African Americans are not balanced because they're denying one part of their heritage. That's not balance. Subhanahu wa Taala tells us, and all three major religions tell us that you should have that balance with nature. You were given a heritage. Subhanahu wa Taala gave you a heritage. Why are you going to get Subhanahu wa Taala or Jehovah or Yahweh, and then you diss this one and you push it to the side? That's not natural. Subhanahu wa Taala gave you African heritage, so you should look at that and be proud of that African heritage and learn of it in order for you to come back into nature. Yes, we have to learn. That's right. We got to learn. Yes, we're this. Yes. What are you basing this on? I don't know. You're talking to somebody here. Yes. And we got here. And I got to close here, brothers and sisters, because I need to make my last prayer. But I'm in the last prayer of the night. But I got to go make my prayer here because see, like on some you guys, I see many of your pictures say you guys are still relatively young. I'm at 70 and I don't get my sleep. I'm in trouble the next day. I'm in trouble. Islam is a religion per se, but it's a deen of ancient, what goes way back to, no, brother, you got this wrong. You got parts of it. Islam is human nature, yes, and no Arabic. So yes, but Islam is related to the prophets of old. All the prophets preached. They all were given a mission. All of the prophets were giving monotheism to give to the people. They were instructed by Subhanahu wa Taala to instruct the people, and they were given a mission. See? But the Prophet Muhammad was given a mission for all mankind. This is where the difference is. So that way, when the ending of the earth, no one could go into their grave and claim they did not know about monotheism, which we know as Islam. So there's a reason why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, each prophet was given a mission. The prophet was given a mission of worldwide recognition. So that way, when a person dies, we're told that you're questioning the grave, and you cannot say you didn't know about monotheism. And Christianity today is not; it's polytheism because you have the what do you call it, the Trinity. Where did that come from? Jesus didn't say that. See, that's man-made. That's man-made. Very similar to groups that have passed, they would attach themselves to Asia before connect. Yes. Yes, they would attach that. And that's part of what has happened to us because of the brainwashing and because, again, we're not whole. We're still outside of nature. We would prefer, especially we have people that we have African Americans today look like they're from Asia. No doubt about that. I see sisters on TV today, man, oh man, they look like they're from, from Thailand or something like that. And then and I even read where some of them claim that when I start to read their heritage, I'm shocked. They got distant Asian heritage, but they don't claim that. They claim themselves to be Thai or Korean. And even though their skin color is like mine, they say they're Korean and Japanese, and I can imagine the Korean and Japanese get a big kick out of that when they see you and you claim that you're not black. They're gonna laugh at you. Only true risen in human nature. Islam, yes. Islam is an old as humanity and its nature of creation. Yes, it's nature. It's prescribed because it falls into the balance. It gives you balance of what is here on this earth and what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has promised, and also what your role is on this earth. See, it's to worship him, but to admire the creations and to be thankful for what he's given you. He's given you air, he's given you water, he's given you food, he's given you ability to see and to smell and to taste. And he's given you ability to feel and to worship. You should be thankful to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala about that. We still here in America and tribes, we were black and nanny and Maroon America, our treaties are signed. Yes, the American Indian was given a raw deal. They killed upwards of 12 million for the Tubop to take the land. And those treaties didn't mean anything. And the Indians, of course, succumbed because why? Why did they succumb? Because they did not fight as a unit. We are the same way here in Africa, on this continent. If we would have fought as a unit and we would have backed the play of the others, we probably would not have been colonized and so forth and so on. The American Indians, same way. We have Africans on the African continent who helped the Tubop to conquer. In the Americas, they have traitor American ethnic groups who betrayed their brothers because of conflicts, and they aided the Tubop, and the Tubop began to rule over both. These are serious issues. Okay, a couple more and I got to go, brothers and sisters. Red pill is a Hindu, Islamist. I don't know, brother. I don't know what you're talking about here. You're at okay. Thank you, my dear brother, for telling me that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, my dear brother, for letting me know that. Those who have not subscribed, please subscribe to my station, because we're black and we are Africans, and we should go to more support. King Cam, he has his station. He gives you a history. He's giving you something. We have others here who also talk. My Fulani brother here, I forgot his name here. He's got his little site and so forth and so on, and you should support him. Get a well-rounded education. Don't just look at mine. Go to King Cam and get it, because it's better. You get different views of things. This is how we get educated. See, this is what you should do. Because we need the education. We have to have the education, and we should be well-rounded. But we should also get it from a perspective on the African continent. You should be getting it from the Africans. So you go to your African brother here, King Cam. You go to your African brother, me, Yahya, to start to give you things for you to do your research and so forth and so on. In my day, when I was a young punk, we didn't have the luxury of looking at black folk faces to help us. We only had Tubop. And I always talk about this story about when I was a little kid. I remember, I don't know my cousin Stephanie, if she's still here or not. When they get to Africa, I always felt shame because you could see the smile on the Tubop teacher's face, degrading us in our heritage. Now here I am, 70. I still remember that as a boy. See, so brothers and sisters, we should be very thankful for our heritage, but we should support. Okay. Thank you, my dear brother. Thank you very much. Thanks to those who subscribe. I greatly immensely appreciate that. Please, subscribe to our brother here as well, and other brothers here too. You find your station and it's a liking. Remember something, my brothers and sisters, never subscribe to nothing profane, because they lead you astray. I don't care if it's a black face there, it's a white face. It just makes no difference. Evil is evil. It has no face, but it hurts more when it comes from a black man. I know that, but evil is evil. Stay away from profane things. Things that can uplift you and help you, you subscribe to it. See? And like our history is worth your subscription. Our history is worth it. And get a point of view that's different than others, because I'm African. So therefore, I'm going to give you an African point of view and to help you to go. I didn't get how I had teachers along the way that helped me to give me a lot, and they did a lot of things for me to help to ground me. And this is what you got to do, especially young black folks. You got to go to your elders. This is African tradition. And why we were doing well, and then we broke away from that. Our young folks were getting the elders, and elders was teaching. We got away from that. See, now the teaching comes from YouTube, comes from different things, okay, and from word of mouth and whatnot. And I was shocked when I saw this thing here about 3 weeks ago, where this man made a statement by saying that he said many African Americans can't even write a paragraph in English very well. My brother here, King Cam, is a professor, so he may contest to this, and I don't know. But I saw this man talk about the statistics. I was shocked. He said also that they took children at the ages of 12 to 14 and gave them a map. They couldn't even find Los Angeles, California. That's incredible. That's incredible. We are regressing as far as education. And you live in the United States, you're 12 years old, 14 years old, and you can't get the map and show where Los Angeles is. That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, okay. That's my station there. Black is a race and not a nationality, nor ethnicity. Yes. This is my Fulani brother here. Now, he's got something going. Why don't you guys go hook up with my dear brother here? He's got a place also in Facebook, if I believe. But yes, you got it right. This is where the confusion is. We got Black Americans. What is a Black American? I mean, he said it right. What is a Black American? What is that? And I'm asking you now, what does your DNA say? When you pull up your DNA, does it say Black this, Black that? No, it says Hausa. It says Fulani. It says Igbo. It says Hausa. It says Mendinka, Mende, Capele, Tiv, Akan. It says something like that. It doesn't say Black when you do your DNA, right? Think about that. Think about that. The tribe, and a couple of more, and I will have to go. My brother, okay, I don't know what you mean by AAA equals AA. What's AAA? I don't know what that term. Now, see, I got to remember some brothers. I've been out of America for 2 decades, so some of the lingo, I don't know what. I said the other day when someone wrote something, my daughter writes sometimes, and she wrote LOL. I never knew what that. She wrote that to me. I said, I don't even know what that means at the end of the sentence, right? Someone explained to me. So now there's a lot of abbreviations. I don't know. And I just learned the other day a bad word, WTF. I've been seeing that a long time till finally somebody told me what it meant. I start to laugh because things has changed now. Okay. Heavenly, we were ones who are white are not mentioned in the geo. Yes. See, there's a lot of things about the Christian the tradition, but there is something though that we have to talk about here. And I said I was going to end, but I got to put this point. There's documents talking about, as as man began to drift away from Africa, he become lighter. Herodotus talked about that because when he went to Iran, he still found in ancient times, he found black folk, but he said their hair was curlier and their skin color was not as black, but they were black people probably like African Americans. Their hair was not real kinky anymore now. See, and their features begin to change too as they start going further north. There was a remnant of something, and you guys can look this up. There were black people that sent Jazeera Arab. They were original Arabs. We know this. They said the women of men came, and they described these women as white. They began to come and they began to mix. They said this was the creation of the Arab that we know them today. They said the daughters of men. And they said that the dwellers of Saudi Arabia, as we know today in the desert, and they're still there today, were black people. They said these girls, these women came down and mating, they begin to mix, and so forth and so on. So this is another interesting part of history. But I say to you again, African Americans, please put this in your mind. When you do your DNA, I don't care if it's 23andMe or if it's the other one. I've got, there's some other ones now, whatever. None of them's going to tell you black. They're going to give you an ethnic group. So who's right? The DNA is coming back from 23andMe or from JetMatch. It doesn't say black. It tells you you're Hausa. So what are you going to do then? Are you going to drop this black title? Or are you going to take the Hausa title? What are you going to do? That's what I pose to you guys, my African American brothers and sisters. Yes, my dear brother. This is here a sentence of Tawheed. I looked at it in the English because the Arabic, because here in Morocco. But yes, this is English. Yes, Tawheed. This is the wording verbiage for monotheism in Islam. Okay, may I ask your channel consist of? Yes, my dear brother. I talk about history. I talk about Islamic. I talk about even topics like this as well. I talk about many different topics. I'm fiery in my speech. I don't hide behind anything. I talk. I give you history that you don't know about, that you think you knew, and then I give example about Spain. You see the movies today, they even pictured the Moors as being white. I destroyed that. I give you proof to this because I know I live here in Morocco and so forth and so on. So I give a good history lesson and also in ancient Egypt as well. And I talk about the linguistics and stuff, the language and so forth, tying in our history and so forth and so on. I talk about that. And then the Islamic, like today is part Islamic, but it's also part dealing with African Americans and black people and Africans and so forth and so on. So my station basically is about that. So please subscribe. You'll find something there that you like. I'll talk about history for a while, and I'll go into something like this. I'll go back into history. I'll go into Islam because I am a Muslim, and I'll give you something to clear up. I'm going to talk about a topic pretty soon, brothers and sisters. I'm getting it formulated now that you may be very interested in, because it does encompass you. And you African Americans who have Mali heritage, you should pay close attention to that. You get your DNA. If you show Mali there, you get a breakdown from JetMatch. Go to because JetMatch will break down because the Africa, the what do you call it, the Ancestry.com and all that kind of stuff. They'll give you, say, this area here. But what ethnic group is there in Mali that you cling to? Why I'm telling you that? Because you should be made aware of a group of people that came out of ancient Egypt. Those people were given something so profound. I talked about in the course. You tell me something about this, brothers and sisters. These brothers didn't have maps of the universe, but they charted it out. How? How did they get that? These people live in Mali today. And you can still go visit them and they'll give you, they have the workings of the interstellar space. They charted our solar system well before the Tuba had telescopes to go find it. Our ancient Egyptian brothers, the same way, same thing. So if you have Mali history, you better break that down to see which people in Mali that you are related to. If it says doggone, you better start digging. The doggone people were given the keys, so to speak, of the universe because they charted out the universe without instruments. That is something else for you to check out. Our brothers here, what did it take on? Yes, what's your take on? I don't know what the term FBA. Please, somebody explain that because, like I say, many of these terms I don't understand what that means. Many of these terms, I start to get some of them like LOL, and there's a lot of terms I'm not familiar because I haven't been in there 2 decades, so a lot of things have changed since I'm there. Channel folks. Yeah, okay, yes, there it is. Bilal Sudan. Yes, our brothers explain it. I have the state of Bilal Sudan. My history, I deal with the African history. Why? I don't deal with the European history. Why not? Because our history has been slighted. Our accomplishment have been whitewashed, just like I talked about Andalus, right? Spain, as we know this today, it was whitewashed. And so I talk about to get this clear. We talk about Egypt. Ancient Egypt, we know is kept. How about that? Whitewashed. We were told ancient Egyptians were white. We know this is not the case. See, we talk about things like this. King Cam also talks about this. We try to give the history to our people so it's still the pride. We want to clear up these fallacies that everything that was good, the Europeans. I even read a book one time we was talking about the some of the great Mujahideen groups who, jihad, okay, the Muslim groups who begin to fight. They even had depicted them as white. And I showed that in one class, and it's almost one was my ancestor. I mean, if I could get the guy and wring his neck, I would, because my ancestor was not from Europe. I have on my dad's side, yes, but they did not come into this region, the Sahara, and live there. It just didn't happen. But they stole the history from us. Not all, because we have white historians who gave us the truth. They did. We got them. We have to take our hat off when they do give that. It's not all white historians are racist, but we have a lot too many of them that are. Okay, bottom line, and that's the thing, and that's why we need the African history teachers like ourselves to give this to our people so we can correct these fallacies. See, we talk about the Bible today. Those who listen to, I gave you some research to go look at, didn't I? To go to marry up the Book of the Dead is say in English and the Bible. Very interesting. Check those comparisons. He's full of, okay, yes, I don't know what my brother's talking about. I think if he's talking about me, yes, I'm full of. Oh, yes, I'm full of. It's mostly disease that wiped the natives. Yes, when the Europeans came over, the Tubab came over, they brought their diseases, and we know that the American Indians did not have any resistance to those common colds and flus and sexually transmitted diseases also, and it wiped out millions of our Indian brothers. I know that. Indians enslaved many blacks. Yes, and last long. Yes, we had that. Yes, but we also had history too, where the Indians and the black brothers fought together. One of that was almost for 2 decades or more than that, near 30 years. They called it the Black and Indian Wars. Andrew Jackson and other presidents fought against black and African who were now living together. They fought against their white counterparts. And the Seminole history, and if those who from Florida know that too, the black who Africans who escaped slavery went to live among the Indians of Seminole. They formed a big union and they fought against the whites. So we've had that. But we had Oklahoma where we had Indians who actually had black slaves. We had that aspect too. See, but you can't go condemn all our Indian brothers because what they did in Oklahoma. Because you have to look at all the other aspects. Look at Arizona. We had this collaboration between the Native Americans and African Americans. We had that. And I already gave you about the great Black and Indian wars that Andrew Jackson had to fight. And it was a collaboration of the Indians and the black man. They fought against their white oppressors. Okay. Yeah, Islam is just an Arabic term for complete. Yes, that's right. That's right. That's true. My dear brother, this is the true. Yoga was complete submission to God and Islam. I don't know about that part of that. I don't know about the yoga and whatnot like this. I cannot say. But the Islam actually means the submission to Allah and to God. Yes, it means that. Transported under Islam. Okay, I don't. Okay, King Cam. So most students do not know where LA or major cities are. I've seen it firsthand. Now here's our teacher. When I saw that, I didn't know what to think. And this is a professor. I mean, I said, what's going on there? You live in the United States, and our students can't even point out. You're given members, and you tell them, "Hey, where's Los Angeles?" They can't find it. That's, we're hurting. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala will not lift us out of the bondage in the United States until we start to do for ourselves. And I'm talking about all of it, history, everything else. Because we're falling behind. If our children today can't even look at a map and pick out where Los Angeles is, that's not right. Hebrews describes something as orange. Language doesn't change the nature or reality. You caught up in Islam being Arabic, it's human nature. I don't know exactly what you mean here, my dear brother. Language doesn't change the nature. No, it doesn't. No one has said that. Language is a communication tool that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave human beings to use to communicate. So it's a communication tool. And you're caught up in Islam being Arabic. It's natural. I don't know really what you mean by that. I don't know. You're caught up in Islam being Arabic. I don't know what you mean by that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that if you learn the Arabic language, this is a gateway to knowledge. It's true. And I already gave you what I told you with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ got a lot of guides and miracles. He began to tell things we call mysteries. In the ancient history, we have called mysteries. The mysteries of the earth. The Prophet Muhammad was given a lot of the answers and antidotes to these mysteries, like the oceans. You heard me say about an hour ago now. What did he say about the oceans? He said that the oceans were, they didn't mix. Scientists verified that. The Indian Ocean and the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean meeting in South Africa, they don't mix. The rivers that flow into the ocean, they don't mix. And scientists have proven that. See, that's something. Okay, a couple more, and that's really it's it, brothers, sisters. Describe things that don't get caught up in language. Yes, but when I talk about the linguistics, I'm talking about because I'm trying to help us to understand history. Why? Because since our history has been whitewashed, all the accomplishments like of ancient Egypt, they were said they were tubop. The accomplishments that happened when the Moors. The Moors, the term Moor meaning black now is meant white. You go to YouTube and go to Google, now you show Moors and history as white people. I mean, incredible. This is why the history is important that we have to go to our African teachers. That's why you subscribe to stations like mine and the King Cam and so forth and so on, because that way we give you the right. So that way you can go do your research and we'll correct these wrongs. See? Like the Moors who went into Andalus, which Spain, they were not Caucasian or Tubop. They were not that. They were black because we know Alfonso described when they came into. Excuse me, Roderick was there at 711 when the Muslims came into Spain. Roderick described them as being black. He said each one was blacker than the other. That's the term that he said. See, so this is a history. They weren't white. So this is why it's important that we understand our history and we get it from the African teachers. That's what propelled me. From all my time, from a young kid, I had only white teachers, and I had a negative opinion of myself because I was black, and our history we were given that we were monkeys eating bananas, climbing trees, hopping around like monkeys and so forth. That's what we were basically taught. Our history began when we was enslaved. This is what I'm talking about. It wasn't until I started to learn more and more, I started to do things on my own. But I got into university, I got around African and African American, so-called African American professors. Then that opened up my avenue and helped my heritage to help me to be more, to be proud of myself and not look down on myself, because now I start to understand my history even more. This is why stations like mine, King Camps, is important, to uplift you, not to tear you down, to make you think. Again, when you do your DNA, all those who say, I'm a Black American, I'm going to cling to that. Okay, brothers, that's up to you. But I'm asking you, when you're doing your DNA, when it comes back, what does the test results say? Does it say Black? It says some ethnic group in Africa, doesn't it? Think about that. Yes, the doggone people of Mali. If you African Americans, you have Mali, you better, if you see doggone, you can get a hold of me. We can talk about that, because these people here are something else. And as I gave a class about them, I have this doggone heritage too on my mommy's side. I have some doggone in me as well. So this is very interesting. Okay, the Mandinka people, yes. We got this Morocco, Marrakesh, more Kush country of sun. No, found. Yeah, that's the Murabi tomb. But it was founded by Yahya Ibrahim. That's the history. I'm going to get into that, and I'm hoping you guys, African Americans, that you follow, because you see Morocco today, you should know what happened in the 10th century. I'm going to give you that, inshallah ta'ala, because you have some brothers that came out of Mauritania and this northern part of Senegal would be called the Takrur region. These brothers were something else, and I'm going to talk about them, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, and that'd be a good history lesson for you to understand. So my brothers and sisters, I got to conclude because it's very late now here. I've been on very long, but I appreciate it. I loved it. I'm glad for your questions. I'm glad for your support. Please subscribe, pass this on, have your other brothers and sisters subscribe to me, pass this tape on, and I'll be doing something else here in a couple of days, inshallah, bi'ifnillah, if subhanahu wa ta'ala wills it. And you guys stay safe there, especially in the United States or anywhere in the world today, because today the world is so dangerous and is so vicious. Please be careful and please protect your families. Okay, until the next time. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.